Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Well, Real Salt Lake wins Saturday, but the Utah Mammoth fall Sunday in their playoff opener. A split for the locals this weekend. We'll start with Real Salt Lake. 4 goals in the first half. Could have been 5, 6, maybe even 7. They had created so many chances. Took the foot off the gas in the second half. Needed 2 big saves by Cabral to win 4-2. So there are definitely lessons to be learned, as Pablo Mastroeni shared in his post-game press conference.
Yeah, I think tonight was a perfect display of what Sergi brings. I think he's reliable in all phases of the game, and defensively, he presses, he takes away, pivots. His graft for the group is immense. Offensively, just the nuance of his game is understanding that when a player is looking forward, his ability to win the position and hold the ball up, it allows the rest of the team to come forward. And again, those are things that often takes years for strikers, because they're just worried about scoring goals, and they're not thinking about how important that phase is to secure the ball, lay it off, to then get the next or the second or third pass after that. And so he just does a great job of that. And I think his athleticism is a bit underrated. His ability to break away from back lines and his timing of his runs, he did it a couple times today, is spectacular. And then obviously his knack of scoring goals is something you can't teach. And so in Sergi, we have an unbelievable teammate and a top-level player, and just super blessed to have him with the group.
With the fast start you guys had tonight, 4 goals in the first half, there was a lot of time to think and kind of watch the game after that. What were you impressed with your group at holding on to that lead, and then maybe what were some things to work on?
Yeah. Again, I think it was probably the best half of football that I've seen in the time that I've been here. Just every phase, the way we pressed, the way we turned our defensive actions into transition moments and quality chances, the way we built from the back. Hoffa did a fantastic job tonight of really playing the game on our terms against a team that likes to press. Again, I think everyone, and one of the things we talk about in managing games is if we're building as an 11, right? And if we're going direct, we're going as 11. And I think in the first half encapsulated the team that we strive to be for 90 minutes. In the second half, just talking with the performance group, not having a rhythm of games, the guys really left it all out there in the first half. We kind of ran out of gas a little bit. And I think the disappointing part was, and this is what I said to the group, was the one thing that is super important for anyone coming into the game is not quality, it's not tactical understanding, it's energy. It's energy. How do you bring energy to the game? And if we're in a defensive block, you bring energy by stepping up, bumping players, bringing a bit of like you want to be seen. You want to infect the next guy next to you with energy, because these guys, the majority of these guys are running on fumes. We haven't had a game in a bit. The first half was a huge expenditure of energy, and I just think that some of the guys that came in didn't provide the energy that we need. And the other part of that is managing games, and we talk about it all the time, is when you have the lead, the one phase of the game that you don't want is transition. That will always favor the team that's down, because the spaces are open, we're out of position, we don't want that. Too many times early on in the first half, we were going for the killer pass. And so I think as a group, we have to evolve to understand we could have passed these guys to death early on and created much better opportunities on goal, felt really good about our repress in those actions to create, again, control the game. And so I think in the second half, that those two things, we were trying to get the 5th goal, and in doing so, we allowed them to believe that they had a chance. And so this game is more psychological than it is tactical, technical on all these things. And when you're talking about the collective, and what we did is we gave them air every time we just played a pass that we didn't have to play forward, and they got it, and they believed, because now they're breaking. Now they get a corner kick. Now they believe even more. And now, and so that part for me is the frustrating part. But all those things given, hadn't played a game in a while, the team that we're playing is a fantastic team in San Diego. The guys coming in didn't bring the right energy that we needed for this game. All those things taken into consideration, I still think it was a fantastic performance.
A little bit on that note, just building off of kind of making the extra pass and that sort of thing. Sergi comes in, he scores 2 goals. I thought his best decision, though, was that pass just out of Morgan for that that final goal for you guys. Like, is that kind of what you're talking about, just with his soccer IQ and being able to read the right play? Like, he's getting pressed with the double team, and then he passes out of that and sets up just a banger?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that encapsulates, again, I think the understanding, and like when I talk about winning the position and how nuanced that is when defenders need an outlet or we want to play forward, like how he wins the position and secures it. The same thing can be said in his decision making in the final third. And I think what's really special about him as well is he could have taken a shot from probably 18 yards out, but that just like team, the understanding that this is the best decision, maybe not for me to score, but for my teammate to score to help our team win. And I think that encapsulates his mentality towards this group.
What kind of confidence can that give a guy like Morgan, who, I mean, that it's hard to believe he's been so involved in the attack, but that's his first goal since.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I was grateful to throw him a ball signed by everyone for his first goal, because what is amazing is that he's made our attack exponentially better without scoring a goal. And so when I think the first one is, and he had a couple chances early on. I think, now that he's hit the back of the net, I think it just kind of takes the pressure off him a little bit. And again, he's got an amazing shot with both his right and his left, and I'm always telling him to be more selfish. But again, and him not being selfish, he sets up his teammates. And so, like, that's the one thing I can promise you about Morgan. He's going to make our team better in every phase of the game. He's going to make our team better in the final third. And today he got what he deserved, which was his first goal.
Hey, Coach. Can you give us any update at all on PQ?
Yeah, so Philip just felt some tightness in his Achilles before the game out of nowhere, and with every step it was tightening up. So that's the other thing with our group, and Dre just being ready to go for 65, 70 minutes. I think it speaks volumes of the mentality of enduring a tough injury, waiting for his moment, and tonight he stepped in and did a masterful job. And really, against this team that likes to really get in behind back lines, it was perfect for him. He did a great job of covering space. His decisions with the ball were really good, taking space when it was there, finding our pivots when it wasn't. I think he had a fantastic game, especially for not playing since the first game of the season, right? So just a real credit to Dre to be ready, and hopefully Phil gets on the mend here soon, and I think they're going to do some scans and figure out exactly what it is.
And yesterday when we were talking, I started to say something about controlling the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was going with that is it's so rare to see a young team, as opposed to, say, San Diego, where we look at the results and we might forget that there have been controversial calls in almost every game that have not gone RSL's way.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight again,
Mm-hmm.
we get that interesting penalty call, but no one on this very young team you're coaching hangs their head, no one loses the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that mentality come from in a group that young?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to, I think, everyone believing so much into how good we can be as a team that no one wants to let the next guy down. And you see it in training every day. Even the young guys coming into games, my expectation is that they're going to do a great job, and that's why they go in the games, or else they wouldn't be on this team. And so obviously there's going to be a learning curve to that, and we got to be better with moments. But I guarantee you the next game, anyone comes in, there's going to be real energy into the group. And again, I think that's the great thing about this younger group, is that they all want to get better. They just want all the information. They want to apply it. They don't want to let their teammates down. And I think when you have that in these younger players, you get the kind of team we have that can overcome. Even today, I'll just talk about obstacles and things that you can and cannot control. We were doing a pregame video and the TV wasn't working, right? So now we're like 15, 20 minutes beyond, because we're trying to get this TV to work. And so then we end up splitting the group into 2 groups, the guys that are starting, and bring them to the coach's office. And there was no one going, oh, crap, this sucks. Like, I can't believe I have my prep work to do, and I'm not getting it. No, they just get in the room, watch the video, and they get on with it, So I think it's really about the culture, about how, we conduct ourselves, because a lot of these things are outside of your control. And when you focus on those things, then you end up giving away things that you can control. But this group is really special.
Thank you. And then just last one for me. What kind of luxury is it for you to be able to bring these young players in a 3-match week to get some minutes off of some of your more veteran guys?
Yeah, no, that was, the game provided a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, Diego was cramping a little bit. Morgan was exhausted. Sergi had run himself into the ground. And so just having guys that are of great quality, great character, and like I said earlier, don't want to do anything to let the team down. They came in and gave everything. And so giving those guys a break will be really important because, again, everyone's going to want to play against Miami and show their stuff. And so we'll have some decisions to make as to how we go about that. But just really good that everyone came away, other than Philip before the game, came away injury-free.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, thank you, man.
Hey, Pablo, congrats on the win.
Thanks.
How do you build on a win like this without letting the level that you're on drop?
Well, I think it's what I said after the game. I said these are points that we have to get better at as a group to control games and manage games. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the game for me is always psychological. When you have momentum, you're feeling great about yourself. When momentum's against you, now you're feeling poor about yourself. But we can affect how we feel given the way we want to play. And so I think it was a good learning opportunity for our group to manage games. And I think, instead of coming in after the game and going, oh, this is a fantastic game, it was a good performance. Probably the best first half. The second half felt like it was never in our control. And so that's one thing that has to improve so that we can all feel really good about ourselves coming into the game afterwards and going, even if it's a 1-0 game, we still got to control the game the right way, right, and make good decisions to help us manage those games. And so it was a good opportunity today after the game to really hit on that point, and just keep our head down because we want to be great. At the moment, I think we're a good team, and there's a lot of things that we have to go through as a group to be great. And so there's always learning opportunities for us.
Now, with the game like today, what impressed you the most, the execution or the mentality?
Yeah, I think it was a game of 2 halves, really. I think the first half, the execution and the mentality was the best, again, the best I've seen in this stadium. It was, I was a fan in the first half, not really a coach. It was really about enjoying this. I mean, just the football was just, like, incredible. The way we built from the back, the way we created chances on goal. And then, obviously, the second half was a little bit different. The game asked for something different. And again, we all have to learn from this moment. But I think, again, when you win a game 4-2, there's a lot to be happy about. But I think for me, it's more content with a real roll up your sleeves mentality for these next 2 games.
And my last one is, what message does this win send to the rest of the league?
I don't know. I don't really. Again, those are things you can't control. We're not here to impress anybody. We're here to be the best that we can be. And the only way we do that is for all of us as a staff, for all of us as players, to show up every day with your lunch pail, understand that you want to be better than you are today, and put in the graft. And again, I think the game on Saturday is won Monday through Friday. There's no shortcuts in this sport. There's no shortcuts in life. The graft you put forth is the reward you receive in the end. And that's who we are, and that's what we're aiming to be.
Thank you.
DJ.
Pablo, you've said multiple times the first 45 was the best 45. Was that the best the press has ever been, and did everything else that went right feed off of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts, again, because you know me, DJ. I talk about the front 4 being, front in this setup, it's really the front 3 being the best defenders on our team. And when Luna scores that goal from a press, it validates everything that we talk about every day. It couldn't have been better, right? And so then I think that momentum goes, okay, now Diego's pressing again, and Morgan's pressing again, and Serge is pressing again, and then you pick up second balls. And I think what really struck me is the decision making in the first half, the execution of the actions. Whether we were playing long filtering passes to our 9, Serge was holding it up, bouncing it to a pivot, out to Morgan, engaging, 2v1s in the wide areas. Everything just flowed. And the other thing that we talk a lot about is the rotations of our front three, right? There's times where Diego was on the far right, Serge was on the left, and Morgan was in the middle. And those three just having the freedom to roam, but yet executing as a team at a really high level was quite impressive for me.
As good as this was, it seems like there's still unrealized potential, and partly with Morgan, because it looks like he sees things ahead of time and he's scanning the field, and teammates feel if like they're off his shoulder behind him, like he doesn't know, but he does, and he plays him a ball into space, and it caught multiple guys flat-footed. And I know you're playing a lot of young guys up there, so how quick can you get them to the point where they're seeing what he's seeing?
Yeah, no, I think this is I talk about this all the time, is there's no better people to learn from. People think it's coaches, but it's really big brothers that are executing in real time. The way he trains, the way he sees passes. And before, Gozo made a few nice passes in between the lines, between their back line and their midfield line, filtering passes into the 9. And that's what Morgan does all the time, right? And so when these guys, and the way Steiny works and operates and is always head on a swivel in the decisions he makes, these are the best mentors for these younger players because they're doing it in real time. And when these experienced players with quality buy into the concept of team, now this is elite, So, I think Morgan, I think as the season goes, it'll be hopefully even sharper. But again, I think that first half, for me, it was unbelievable.
All right, there's Pablo Mastroeni after RSL beats San Diego 4-2. The Utah Mammoth lose their playoff opener. We'll get to the best of the postgame show next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth went to Vegas, led 1-0 after 1-0 after one period, 2-1 after two periods, and then lost 4-2. Yes, the third period goes to Vegas. Hey, don't give them a power play. And certainly don't let them score on it. And Vegas got both those things. And then a bad giveaway and a bad spot on. It's just a bad place to turn the puck over. It was dangerous, and they paid for it. So Vegas did enough little things right. They created more shots. They scored all 3 goals. They had an empty netter to wrap it up. They scored all 3 goals in the third period. So a good performance by the Utah Mammoth, but ultimately not good enough. So let's get to the best of the postgame show.
Hey guys, the Vegas Golden Knights took a 1-0 series lead on the Utah Mammoth on Sunday night in Vegas in a game where Utah led 1-0 and had a 2-1 lead for over 20 minutes. In fact, the Mammoth led for over 24 minutes in the contest before Vegas tied it with a power play goal in the third and took a lead just 1 minute and 48 seconds later before they added a late empty netter to beat the Mammoth by a count of 4-2 in a contest that Utah took a 2-1 lead to the third period. For the Mammoth, didn't get any better in the contest than Logan Cooley, who scored Utah's first ever playoff goal with 11 seconds left to go in the first period. It was a contest where Cooley finished with 5 shots and 4 hits in a very physical contest.
Fights his way through a check. Up top, Lawson Krause relays it over. Cooley a one-timer, and he scores! Logan Cooley has Utah's first Stanley Cup playoff goal.
Mammoth made it 2-1 just 1 minute and 24 seconds after Vegas tied it early in the second.
This is pushed around the wall. Stenlund towards the front. Rebound. It dribbles in, and they score! The Mammoth get a lucky bounce here in Vegas.
But as we said, the penalty led to the Vegas power play goal, top 10 in the NHL in special teams during the regular season. And then 1 minute and 48 seconds later, a giveaway. And before you knew it, Utah was trailing for the first time on the evening. Game 2 of the series coming up on Tuesday night in Vegas, 7:30. The puck will drop here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, with Hockey Night in Utah starting at 6:30. Huge game from Logan Cooley in his playoff debut. We heard from the 21-year-old after the game. Utah's best player without question, best player on the ice for either side through the first 40 minutes.
mission. What did you, I guess, learn about yourself in this game, but also, the overall experience of your first playoff game in the NHL?
Yeah, I mean, I think, right from the start, I knew it was going to be physical. A super fast game, not a lot of room out there. And I think early on we did a good job of, playing our game, playing our style. Then maybe let off a little bit towards, the third, and it cost us. But, it's a long series, and we just got to regroup and clean up a few things.
It was very tight out there. How can you guys generate a little bit more against that Vegas defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for us, we're, like to use our speed and transition, and that's when we catch teams. And like I said, I think early on we did a good job of that, and maybe kind of got away from it a little bit. But, we'll see what we can do better, and refocus, regroup, and be ready to go for game 2.
Getting and Jersey back in the lineup tonight, what did they bring?
Yes, Banner is such a physical guy, brings a bunch of energy. He's a guy that, we kind of need in our lineup to, he helps get us going when, things aren't going our way. And Durs, too, really good at moving the puck, getting up in the play, creating offense. And I thought they were both really good tonight.
Did your goal help settle you into your first playoff game?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to get on the board early, but I think after the first shift, you get into it, maybe get a few bumps, and it's just another game.
By the end of the game, there was a lot of physicality, but you guys really stood up for yourselves. You're proud of what you guys kind of finished out that game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the playoffs. It's physical. They don't call as much as they would probably in the regular season. And like I said, I think we did a good job sticking up for each other and having each other's back, and that's always going to be the case.
Do emotions differ in the playoffs, and how do you feel like you guys managed it tonight?
Yeah, I thought pretty good. There's going to be guys that grab you and try to bring you into the fight, and you got to make sure you're sticking up for each other, getting each other's back, and I don't know. I mean, I think we did a good job of that, handling that the right way, and just got to make sure we're controlling our energy too.
That might have been the meanest I've ever seen you play a hockey game. Is that a side of you that the fans have yet to see? And are we going to see more of that going forward?
I don't know. I mean, it's the playoffs. You're playing for the cup. You're doing whatever you can to help your team win, and if that is physical or scoring, playing good defensively, whatever the team needs, and I think that's our mindset in this locker room too. It's all about the team focus and trying to win game 2.
Nate Schmidt, a playoff veteran, played in his 100th career Stanley Cup playoff game on Sunday night. He played 47 of those with Vegas in their first 3 seasons, and he picked up an assist on that Cooley goal that made it 1-0. Let's hear from Nate Schmidt after the contest on Sunday.
I mean, this is a long series. That's what we planned on it to be. There's a lot of lessons to be had tonight. Our effort was there. There was some momentum swings. That's the playoffs, and they scored a power play goal to get it even there early in the third, and I think it tilted the ice a little bit for them. And I liked our response throughout the last little part of the game. But there's things to build on for game 2, and I think some of our guys tonight, got a taste of what it's like, right? And all the emotional parts of it, and the exciting, that is playoff hockey. So, I'm excited for it to be a long series and for game 2.
What can you say about a guy like Logan Cooley, who obviously has not played in a playoff game before, elevating the way he did tonight?
Yeah, I think he is a player that's ready to take that step on the center stage here in the playoffs and be like a guy that commands a lot of space out there, and he really makes a lot of plays for guys and creates space for people. I love his game. I love that his tenacity around the puck. He's not someone that's going to shy away from it, and that's what I love about him. That's what I think, as we go on here, he's going to get show more and more, and those are some young legs that are willing to do that dirty work, which is something that, is really important this time of year. Guys are willing to stand over the puck and be willing to take the abuse, and I think he will.
You're right there with them, and it's just a couple little plays, right? Like it's a rebound on a power play, it's a deflection.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. You're playing a good team, and it was a tight checking game, a lot of hits, a lot of emotions. There's a lot of parts of that game that we can, dial back the tape and look at and try and build off of, and also give us confidence heading into game 2. It's like I said, it's gonna be a long series. I want it to be a long series. I want our guys that want that too. That's the type of atmosphere that you want to be part of.
We've talked a lot about the leadership that guys like yourself bring that have been deep in the playoffs lots of times before. Where did you find opportunities to step up tonight in that regard?
I think it's mainly in the room. There's so much emotion when the game's going on, and trying to just calm the bench down sometimes in a few areas of the game. Teams are going to have pushes. We have a push. They have a push in the second period. I mean, it's just going to happen. If you go into the game knowing that you're going to make mistakes, there's going to be things that happen. There are going to be penalties called. You kind of let the game come to you a little bit more, and I think that was something that we talked about, or at least I tried, to reiterate to our guys. And I thought our guys they're right in the game. They didn't let the moment get too big from today, especially guys for the first time.
McBain and Jersey back in the lineup tonight. What lift did they bring, and what did they do in that first game for you guys? Yeah, Jack's such a force, and Durs does a lot of the good things with the puck. I think both guys always add a little extra element to our game, whether it's with their mouths or whether it's with their bodies. So it's always nice getting guys back in after a little bit of a hiatus.
And that was playoff hockey for Utah. We knew it was going to come down to little details, key moments, the penalty, the turnover, overtaking the fact that Utah led for over 24 minutes in the game and Vegas led for just over 12. Head coach Andre Tourigny, though, still pretty happy with his group. We heard from Bear after the contest.
That was a great game, I think. We know Vegas is a really good team. It was a hard-fought game, was physical, was intense. Every inch was contested, so proud of our prep. Like the way we came out, I think the guys were pretty composed. They were in control. Like I said, it was a hard-fought game. We know we could, when we exploit our speed, that was a good factor for us. So we need to keep focusing on that.
The guys in the room said there was no reason to be down about themselves. Obviously, proud of the way they fought through that game. How do you use this as a springboard for Game 2?
Well, we got in that series focusing on being even keel and being in the moment, being here and now, thinking at just the next shift. And I think we did a great job during that game. Even when they took the lead or when they tied a game, it did not affect our spirit on the bench, did not affect the way the guys talk or their intensity or so on and so forth. Our play with the puck, we even raised our game from there. So obviously, like we said, Vegas is a good team and they had push, and that was a hard-fought battle. But I really like the way the guys stay in control, and you just want to get better. From now on, it's a race of improvement. I think we have stuff we can be better, and we'll make some adjustments, some stuff, but I'm really proud of the way we perform.
What can you say about Logan Cooley's play today? Not just the goal, but the meanness, the toughness.
Oh, he was in the mission. He was really good. I think him and his line played a solid game. You guys know how competitive he is, and I think he just put it on display.
What did you learn about yourselves tonight, and then what did you in turn learn about your opponent?
Oh, that's a good question. What I learned about myself is I'm proud of the way where our guys were mentally. I think at this point, as a coach, what you need to do is make sure your team is in the right mindset, the right approach, they're in control, and they control their performance, which I'm proud of the way they played on that sense. I think we'll learn a lot through the series, no doubt about it. But I think as a first game, we'll have loved to win the game, no doubt about it. But I think we pushed back after they took the lead. We stayed in control. The guys were calm on the bench. We're even kill. We didn't act like we were a young team or a team was lack of experience. Is the reverse. I felt we were in control.
So again, on we go to Game 2. Game 3 of the series will be Friday at 7:30 at the Delta Center as Utah looks to come home with a split, and that's all they went to Vegas for. Come back with a split. Tuesday night, 7:30. We'll be on the air at 6:30, as we said, here on Hockey Night in Utah. And we'll have all the details about Game 1. Mike Fulton and I will give you our final thoughts. Matt McConnell will join us, and we'll take a quick trip around the NHL on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcast. Mike and I with you Monday through Friday. New episodes dropping at 4:45 a.m., and we promise to give you at least 30 minutes on the Mammoth every day. Guys, back to you.
All right, there is the best of the postgame show. David Locke coming up next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. David Locke joined us late in the show on Friday as we head into the Jazz offseason and the NBA playoffs. Here's our conversation with David.
What is the most exciting thing in your life?
My wife is getting better after surgery. She's not good.
That's awesome.
But she's better. So
that's awesome. That's great. Patrick Kinahan, what is the most exciting thing in your life?
I go to the basics to be able to walk. So many people can't walk. And if you can't walk, that just destroys your ability to enjoy it at a level that I do. So I never take for granted the simple ability to be able to walk, to exercise, to play golf, to stand and do the things that a lot of folks can't do. And so I take it down at the bottom level. And if I got that, then I can build upon that and enjoy some other stuff that may come. But the essence, the day-to-day stuff, if I'm cool day-to-day, well, then obviously I'm going to be great when I'm going on an around-the-world vacation, which I'll never take. But you get the point I'm trying to make.
Yep. I love it. I ask this all the time now, and I think it's really interesting. I love it because it's actually super selfish. I'm an extrovert, so I get somebody else telling me what makes them happy, which gives me energy, so it's actually super selfish. But somebody the other day answered that their ability to think ahead and their ability to improve. And I was like, oh, that's an awesome answer. So, yeah, I love it. Thank you, both of you, for sharing. I greatly appreciate it.
David, let's start with a question I think that everyone's trying to assess. The Jazz young guys, especially the ones they've drafted and the ones they've been developing, do you have a really good feel for who the Jazz coaches and executives really trust to play at least 20 or 25 minutes a game next year on a 50-win team, if that's the goal, whether they get there or not? But they feel comfortable plugging them into how many of the guys are they sure of? How many guys are they questioning? How many guys are they ruling out? After 82 games of investing, a lot of losing and checking these guys out, what do you think they think about how to plug these guys into next year's roster?
So I don't want to make this – I'm a little nervous to answer this question because the way things go viral. With my friend Angie Mentic living it right now. So you had an interesting word in there, which was questioning, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't you say the word questioning? I think they question whether any of them can play 25 minutes on a 50-win team, including Keontae. Like, I'm not trying to be negative, but one, the first premise is trying to what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's led to great development, and that's why you do it, is really easy. Have you seen these games these last few days?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like, we've never done that. Denver, San Antonio regular season, our guys have never done that. None of our guys have. Jaren's won one playoff series. It's the only guy in the whole roster who's won a playoff series that's going to be on the roster next year in all likelihood. I mean, or core guys, right? So, I mean, I think we should be legitimately questioning whether any of them can. Like, I don't know if it's a really good metric or not, but for 2 years in a row on Taylor Snar's dunks and threes, Keontae George is the worst defensive player in the NBA. So I don't know if that's fair. Last year he played without a center, and it wasn't a team constructed to play good defensively. But if you're using the phrase questioning, I'm certain that there's a lot of questioning of whether Keontae George is capable defensively to play for a 50-win team. Because if he's actually the worst defensive player in the NBA for a third year in a row, we're not winning 50 games. I can promise you that. So I'm not trying to be like dramatic or talk shock jockey. That's an old phrase no one uses anymore. But I think there's a serious question on every single one of them of whether they can play. And I don't think that Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, and maybe even Bryce Sensabaugh can play 25 minutes on a 50-win team yet. But I'd also ask you this. Of the 50-win teams in the NBA, how many players are playing on those rosters that are third and fourth year guys, second, third year guys, and then also low draft picks? I don't think there's that many, right? San Antonio being the exception, but they also have Victor. But Denver has 0, unless maybe they have somebody. Peyton's in his 4th year now. But I think Denver basically has 0. Oklahoma City at this point might have 0, other than A.J. Mitchell. So that's a second-year player. And that's a pretty easy ecosystem to step into. That's the other thing, right? You go add 2 or 3 good players, and now what you're asking Bryce Sensabaugh and Kyle Filipowski and Isaiah Collier to do is so much more narrow-focused. Maybe they can do it way better than what we're asking them to do right now.
Yeah. Understood on that. I get that point. That's a well-deserved and respected point that you make. You've spoken when we get to this point in the calendar that there has been for you individually an emotional letdown and sort of an emotional hangover with the end, because there's this buzz and there's this adrenaline and all that stuff. And then it just comes to a screeching halt and you've had a few days that you need to adjust. I'm wondering, and not just you specifically, but as far as the team, the guys that you're around, is it a little bit different this year, knowing that there's optimism for next year that we haven't seen in a number of years?
I don't think I'll ever forget the day in Atlanta. Like the singular mood change. I can't remember where we were when the trade happened. You could look at the calendar and I probably will remember, but we flew to Atlanta after the trade. And the next day we practiced at Georgia Tech. Pretty long walk back. And I'll never forget that practice. Like Keontae just wanted to talk and Lowry just wanted to talk. Like I talked to both them longer that day than any day all year, and probably more that day than all days combined for the rest of the year. They just, what do you think? And what are your takes? And they just want everyone's thoughts on it. They couldn't get enough from it. And then I happened to walk back that day with the coaching staff and they were just bubbling. And I'll never forget the mood change that happened in Atlanta. We were in Indiana the day before. I know because I know where Austin Ainge and Will Hardy went to dinner to discuss the trade the night before. So we were in Indiana and then headed to Atlanta. And I'll never forget the energy change. And that carried through for the rest of the year. I mean, there was some ridiculousness that took place this year, right? And it got kind of comical at times, but that energy and that trade made everything okay. I can't imagine what it would have been like to go through the last 2.5 months of the season with no light at the end of the tunnel. Like just begging for Cooper Flagg again, right? Like last year, I do remember going through it and like, okay, well, we got a 20%, 18% chance to get Cooper Flagg. Like we're doing an awful lot for 18% chance. And it turned out that actually we really want to get into it. Last year's losing might turn out to be some of the most important because the difference between Ace Bailey and the 6th, 7th, and 8th pick may turn out to be really dramatic. And so the fact that we had the worst record in the NBA and could the worst case scenario slide to 5 and walk out with Ace Bailey may turn out to be an incredibly important franchise moment. So as was probably getting to 4 or 5 this year. So all of that stuff was worth it and necessary, but to have done it without a light at the end of the tunnel would have been really hard. The mood change in Atlanta that day was just incredible.
You have any insight into Walker Kessler, into what lengths they will go to sign him, or does everyone just have to sit around on pins and needles and wait? Because in a weird way, that trade you talk about with Jaren Jackson Jr., in my mind, makes it all the more imperative to bring Walker back. So you could have 3 7-footers. You could go from the bottom of the league, they're either 30 or 29 defensively, every year, just year after year after year, all of a sudden they could be elite. They would have the size and the length. My gosh, they'd be a nightmare to deal with.
I'm going to back up two things I've heard you say already today, so I'm just kind of agreeing with you. So one is Detroit this year had the largest advantage of any team in the history of the league in the restricted area. And I think it's a signal of a shift in the game right now. So we went through an era of basketball where shooting threes and being able to shoot the long ball was really what kind of separated teams. And Quinn Snyder's teams with a shot distribution of 40, 40, 20, 40% of your shots at the rim, 40% of your shots at 3 and 20 was gaining themselves a 2 or 3 point advantage every night in the regular season and winning games because their shot distribution was better than everybody else. I think the new age, we hear about the possession thing all the time right now from the coaches. I actually think everyone's onto that. There are 3 things that I think are the new age of the league. One is this idea of winning an area of the floor dramatically. I don't know if you can do the 3-point line anymore. So Detroit winning the restricted area. 2, the 5 best rim defenses in the NBA. So 5 best teams defending shots at the rim are Detroit 1 seed, Oklahoma City 1 seed, Boston 2 seed, San Antonio 2 seed, and Minnesota back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Those are the 5 best teams in the NBA defending the rim. The third one is the best offensive teams are all offensive rebounding teams, which is the possession battle. Those are all 3 areas are areas where we could be elite if we have Walker, Kessler, Jaren Jackson. Now, what's interesting about that is neither of them are elite rebounders. Walker's above average, Jaren's below average, and Lowry's well below average. And Ace is not a great rebounder. So it is interesting. We just decided that size is going to rebound. There is going to have to be a little bit of a commitment from the players because they've actually never been very good at that. Walker's okay. I think he's above average, but not statistically. All right. So that's first thing. So I'm backing you up. Second thing, Walker. I do think getting Walker back is vital because you got to see if this is going to work. And Jaren Jackson's a power forward, not a center. Jaren can play some center, and will probably play Jaren as a 5-out center, which gets into a very interesting question of what we do about backup center and how we allocate those minutes, depending on what we think we're doing with Jaren. And that probably will be dictated a little bit by the draft. But I do think Walker's vital to bring back, and I think Walker's really good. But we are in an era, as you said earlier, and this was where you were really astute, you cannot just – it used to be like they want 30, you're going to give them 20. We'll just decide at 27.5 and just throw the extra $3 million around like it doesn't matter. Can't do that anymore. That will prevent you from having another rotation player, and that'll prevent you from winning a playoff series because money is so tight on the aprons now. And so these negotiations are going to get much more difficult today than they've ever been because the compromise of just, oh, well, we'll figure it. And the other one is we'll pay him now and figure it out later was the other approach that used to really work. It didn't work so well in Derek Favors for the Jazz, but it generally worked pretty well. And that is a lot more difficult to do now because if you go over the aprons, you're so restricted in your player movement that it's very difficult for you to be able to move that player. And then you get really caught in a bind. So this is a much more complicated negotiation than it's ever been before.
Last time the Jazz as a franchise.
And let me flip it. That was from the Jazz perspective. From Walker's perspective, it's a little iffy too. And that is, when was the last time you can think of a restricted free agent moving teams?
Guys,
I got to go find it. It's got to be 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So the idea that someone's going to give Walker a 4-year, $120 million offer as a restricted free agent, like, I just think it's unlikely. I mean, I think the 3 teams are like Brooklyn might do it. Atlanta will have some cap room, and some people think Chicago. Like, yeah, I don't really see like Brooklyn deciding to eat up their cap space on Walker and pivoting off Nick Claxton. Atlanta seems to have something right now with a Kongu. I don't know why they would do Walker at that number. And I just don't see Chicago. So then suddenly Walker doesn't have any market, and the Jazz are holding firm to their number and the Jazz are offering, let's say the Jazz are offering 4 years, 100. Like, are you really walking from $100 million over principal? Really?
PK's shaking his head because his mother would come back from the grave and just bash him upside the skull.
I mean,
where do I sign?
It's a really tricky. it's a really tricky negotiation because it's somewhat built to make both sides unhappy.
And maybe there's some satisfaction. That's what gets it across the line.
Kuminga and
Everybody
Golden
looks at
State.
it. Yeah, half a loaf. Let's do it.
Right. So let's hope. I mean, there's been some murmur that like the league kind of thinks there's some people in the league who think it's done, but I don't believe that.
What's done?
That the Jazz and Walker kind of understand where each other are and they're going to get it done. But I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Well, that'd be intriguing. I mean, there was that whole rumor about the Pacers offering up a couple of picks, trying to make it happen, and that didn't go anywhere. And the fact it didn't go anywhere might suggest, well, maybe there's been some talk, and they realize they're in the same arena, and there's going to be a meeting of the minds.
So I don't know how that works. So there's no question. Let's just be totally clear on this. If the Pacers traded for Zubac, they asked about Walker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's just no that sounds like that would be negligent not to, right? So the rumor is clearly true. The thing that I think is interesting here is I don't know if you can pull this up really quickly at Sport Tracker where you look at this, but I think Zubac makes 17 or 18. So I don't know this, but I'm just going to guess that there's back channels. Like no one's doing stuff without. This is just logic. I'm certain that if Indiana was interested in Walker, Indiana also had a reason to call Walker's agent on 3 other topics and go, oh, by the way, what do you expect Walker to get in the offseason? Right? Right? Like, you would have to do that. If you're in their position, you'd have to do that. That just is logical. Well, I'm guessing that their number was way higher than 17, and Indiana said no thank you. Because I'd rather have Walker than Zubac.
Zubac this year made almost 18.9. Next year it goes to 20.3, and then it goes to 21.8. And so he's got 2 years left at just over $20 million.
Right, and Walker comes back and says, I want 25 or 30. Indiana's like, yeah, we'll trade for Zubac.
Right.
The problem for Walker is that just took one of the teams off the market.
Yeah. David, we got to go.
I don't know that. This is just like I do enough business. Like with Lockdown, I do enough business deals that this is kind of how you just do deals, right? Like,
right.
You're calling both parties. You're asking where everybody is. You're figuring out what's going on. You're taking your best options. Mm-hmm. There's zero chance that people in the billion-dollar industry of the NBA are doing this blind.
David, you didn't wait to do this when you were starting Lockdown. You were doing this sitting at bagel shops and doing radio in the previous century. I know this firsthand.
Yeah, when I screwed you on your first deal, sure. Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Right. And when I told Gordon Monson that, like, come on, I'm going to make you the most powerful person in town. You don't need money. You just need power.
And it worked in both cases.
I never trusted him.
We got the money later. We'll wait for Locke to leave.
It worked out for you guys.
It did.
My dad gave me a great piece of advice in life, by the way, on money, for anyone who's listening. My dad told me, like, there'll be twice in your life, 2 or 3 times in your life where money will actually matter. The rest of the time, you're just nickel and diming. So make sure you make the right decisions on those 2 or 3, and don't worry about it the other times.
There you go.
You didn't. You got nickel and dimed by me, and then you did just fine, DJ.
Yep, that's a true story.
And PK, I was ignorant to brilliance. I've openly admitted it. I was ignorant to brilliance.
Well, it worked out too.
It all worked out.
Right.
All right, Dave, we got to run. Hey, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
You guys are really exceptionally good at what you do. And it's honestly, I make it a little bit of a joke every day when I start off, but I really do enjoy chatting with you guys. You guys are great.
All right, there is David Locke. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do-or-die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the chase for the cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more. This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do-or-die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the chase for the cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NHL.
Cooley marching into the offensive zone. Pulls up on the near side and fights his way through a check. Up top, Lawson Krause relays it over. Cooley a one-timer, and he scores! Logan Cooley has Utah's first Stanley Cup playoff goal. This is pushed around the wall. Stenlund towards the front. Rebound. It dribbles in, and they score! The Mammoth get a lucky bounce here in Vegas. Utah wins it back. And then they turn it right over. Nick Dowd hands it off. It's Sissons up top. Hannafin with a wrister tipped in, and they score! Nick Dowd gives Vegas their first lead of the series.
And the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Utah Mammoth 4-2. They win Game 1 of their first-round Stanley Cup playoff series. The Mammoth led 1-0 after one period, 2-1 after two, but it was all Vegas in the third period, PK. They had more possession. They had more shots. They scored all three of the goals that went in the net in that third period. There was a lot of talk throughout that whole broadcast they had the whole graphics, all the playoff experience and all that. And I think if that's your theory, it is easy to point at that third period and say all that playoff experience paid off for the Golden Knights.
Rats. This is just game one, but, we'll see what they do on the adjustments and so forth. But, everything you said, all factual.
Yeah. Vegas really was just, delivering hits all over the ice. I thought the Mammoth tried to hold up against that pretty well. But as far as, the Mammoth are the faster, quicker, more athletic team, and Vegas is bigger and tougher. And we know the Mammoth have been drafting and bringing in guys with real size, and most of them aren't with the club yet. But you could see why Vegas was just crushing guys every time they had a chance, knocking them over the boards, crushing them in the corners, whatever it was.
Nobody pushes Yamamoto around. I'm telling you that right now.
Right now. Game 2 tomorrow, 7:30 on ESPN2 and right here on The Zone. They're still in Vegas for Game 2 at T-Mobile Arena tomorrow night. The other playoff results, the game everybody's talking about, Buffalo hasn't been in the playoffs forever. At home, down 2 goals, getting shut out with 8 minutes to go, and they score 4 times in 7 minutes. Bedlam, chaos. They come back to win 4-3 in regulation. Didn't even need overtime. 4 goals in 7 minutes. That place is going nuts. That game overlapped with the start of the Vegas game, so that's how I turned into it, and I assume a lot of people did too. That was a pretty chaotic scene in Buffalo, PK. Those people were awfully happy.
Oh, man, and they deserve it. I love the people of Buffalo.
Doubleheaders on ESPN and ESPN2 tonight. The Western games, Minnesota and Dallas, 7:30 on ESPN. And Anaheim and Edmonton play Game 1. Everybody else playing Game 2, but they're playing Game 1 tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
8 opening games in the NBA playoffs. The home team, the team with the better record in the regular season, won 7 of them, but the Orlando Magic did surprise the Detroit Pistons, beat them 112-101. Pistons had a huge edge at the free throw line. Neither team shot the three particularly well, but what David Locke was just talking about in that last segment, how well do you defend at the rim? The Pistons, outside of Cade Cunningham, could not make a 2-point shot. That was terrible. They were really struggling. And so Orlando gets the win in Game 1.
Wow.
Wow, that's it, huh? Victor Wembanyama, 35 points. San Antonio crushes Portland 111-98. Wembanyama making it easy. How about Tim Duncan over there with the gray beard, man? Father Time is undefeated. What happened? He aged like the rest of us.
I don't understand why guys grow beards when they're white or gray. It just makes them look older.
Yep. But he's got it nonetheless. Yeah. No Kevin Durant. He's got a knee contusion, so he was out for Game 1. The Lakers beat Houston 107-98. Obviously, the Lakers missing 2 guys as well. And that was just the LeBron James show as he took over and had 8 assists in the first quarter, directing everything. The Lakers took control of that pretty quickly.
I thought it was the Luke Kennard show. He couldn't miss.
Yeah, he could not. You're right. 9 of 13 shooting. He had it going. Tonight, Toronto and Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell had 32 in Game 1. The Cavs won Game 1. They play Game 2 tonight on Peacock and the NBC Sports Network, 5 o'clock. The Knicks and Atlanta, 6 o'clock on NBC. And Minnesota and Denver at 8:30 tonight on NBC. There you go. Playoff doubleheader. Over the air. Easy to find. Do you care about the NBA MVP race? The 3 finalists, Victor Wembanyama, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, all 3 of them had great years. You got a favorite? Either one you believe will win or one you think should win.
Oh, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know what they're thinking there. I would still go Jokic. He's the best player in the league, right, in my mind. But Wembanyama, if it was a horse race, man, they're coming down the stretch, and he's gaining strides, and he takes big strides. So he's going to be good for a number of years. I mean, this award it's for show. It's something to do. You get a little bit of buzz. You know, they do it during the playoffs, so I don't think it gets that big of a buzz as, say, what baseball would do waiting until after the playoff. The MVP of the finals always trumps this in my mind, but these are all 3 good players, and I can live with any one of them getting it.
Yeah. Charles Barkley criticized Michael Jordan as an owner once upon a time, and that ended their friendship. That went ice cold. Barkley said the two are now getting back together, expected to golf this summer after the NBA season ends. Jordan has obviously sold the team. Maybe he realizes it wasn't personal, and Barkley was doing his job.
It's the circle of life. Rapinoe and Bird split. Barkley and Jordan get back together.
It happens.
Yeah.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Reports all along, all these questions about A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. Now the reports the Eagles are open to trading A.J. Brown, and the Patriots want to acquire him. But due to contract considerations and salary cap rules, a move not expected to be executed until around June 1st rather than this week. So look forward to that. And the Steelers don't know what Rodgers is doing. He hasn't announced yet. The draft starts Thursday. I suspect after the draft he'll make it clear. This all goes back to Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta and then Atlanta drafting somebody. I don't know if veteran quarterbacks at their end of their career want to go in front of the draft anymore. Trust is low. And he can go somewhere else if Pittsburgh goes and gets a quarterback.
Could he, though?
I think he could, yeah.
Like where?
Nowhere good, which is why I think he's going to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's mediocre. But are there desperate teams that would want him? Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Arizona, hello.
I don't think so.
Really? I expect they won't draft someone and he'll go to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But we'll see how it plays out. The Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers said that tough practices by former coach John Harbaugh led to more injuries, especially late in the season. Full pads all the time. Flowers said in an appearance on the Fourth and South podcast. However many practices and pads you can get, every single one. We're doing one-on-ones in Week 17. Everybody out there, we're tired. We're still going. Doing one-on-ones.
So what's the new guy, Minter? Is that his name there? So he's going to come in. We're going to be soft. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, that's probably not his opening line. Cincinnati traded the 10th overall pick to the Giants in exchange for defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, who gets a 1-year, $28 million extension and give him 3 years left on his deal. And the Giants now have the 5th and 10th overall selections in the first round Thursday. So, with Harbaugh there now, with John Harbaugh there now, they can go young. They've already been adding pieces. We know quarterback and running back, and now they got 2 of the top 10.
We're a breaking news organization right here, and what's trending, and Yak has got it.
What you got, Yak?
Yeah, 49ers and 12-time Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams reached a contract agreement, 2 years, $50 million deal to keep him in place.
Sources say.
The linchpin to the 49ers offensive line returns.
The John Lynchpin.
Ha. Nice play. Nice play on words. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
North Carolina State used an out clause due to the ACC changing their schedule from 8 games to 9 games for 2027. So their road game at Texas Tech is canceled. Texas Tech then canceled a game against North Texas, and they've got 2 open non-conference games in 2027. That's unusual, just a year away, to have 2 spots in the schedule. Let's see what Texas Tech does with those.
I bet you they fill them.
Yes. With who? With what? What's
Is
their
it with
strategy?
who or
Marquee
with whom?
game or just easy W's? Just
I think it's with whom?
With which school?
Either.
Either.
I don't want to leave out the E. If I go either, then I'm leaving out the E. I don't want to leave out the E.
Albert Mendoza, younger brother of Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza, has been named the starting quarterback for Georgia Tech after his transfer from Indiana, where he backed up his brother this past season. So, welcome to the ACC, Alberto Mendoza. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Yeah, the New York Mets. They've lost 11 in a row, longest streak in 20-plus years. Gave up a run in the 9th to the Cubs to tie the game 1-1, another run in the 10th to lose 2-1. So now they go home for 9 games, and players saying it's going to get loud. $352 million payroll, PK, and they dropped 11 in a row.
Yeah, that's unexplainable. I don't know why. I mean, that payrolls don't guarantee, but at the same time, if you have a high one, you're usually at least competitive, and that's not been the case. You look at your Padres, right? They're like 13-2. I was reading in Nightingale's Sunday column that the prior owner payroll exceeded $200 million since 2022, making them third, only behind the Mets and the Yankees in 2023. And now the Padres are still rolling them, and the Mets just plunged to the bottom, to depths that you just wouldn't see with that level. I mean, that's a comparison. So you got, the Yankees are usually competitive. They haven't won a World Series, and so that's always traumatic because of the Yankees. And the Padres haven't either, but, they've been competitive for many, many years, selling out the place left and right. And then the Mets, who are in the ballpark with those salaries, just awful. It's so mind-boggling there.
Yeah, the Padres have started slashing payroll, but, it's all relative. It's still a massive payroll. And you're right.
Well, now they're going to go with the private equity. Feliz Navidad, Jose Feliciano. Oh, man. I want to wish you a Merry October.
Dodgers and Yankees are leading the division. The Padres are half game behind the Dodgers. And then there's the Mets at 7-15. And there's really no sign this is coming. They went 7-4 in their first 11, and now they've lost 11 in a row. Out of the gate, it looked fine. It looked like, all right, they're winning almost 2 out of 3 games. This is who they ought to be. They ought to be good, if not great. Cubs sweep them. Cubs. Can you explain the National League Central with all 5 teams with winning records right now?
They've sucked for so many years that they've got high draft picks, and now they're moving up the system
finally had to get it right.
Getting to the big leagues, yeah.
Deepest division in baseball, no doubt about that right now. Salt Lake Bees lost to the Sugarland Space Cowboys in their series finale, 7-4. They're off today and start a series in Las Vegas tomorrow. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake scores twice in the first 6 minutes. They scored 4 times in the first half, and they hold on to beat San Diego 4-2. Their unbeaten streak now at 6 in a row. They were really flying in that game, and then did not have the same energy in the second half and needed Rafa Cabral to make a couple of big saves late to hold on for that 4-2 win. But 6 straight matches, tied for third in the West, and they've got Miami headed in Wednesday, the much-anticipated Messi visit. Messi played all 90 minutes in Colorado on Saturday, scored twice. There are people worried he won't play, and then there are people saying, well, they just had the coaching change there, and his guy's in charge. He's got to play and make his guy look good. So I guess we'll wait to hear and see what they do with Messi as far as does he start? Does he play all 90? Does he come off the bench? What are they going to do with him? But the legend is coming to town Wednesday.
And I was appalled at your line of questioning I mean, celebrate the win, the greatest half they had, and you're worried about a little slippage, which is just natural at the end, especially when they got 2 other games coming up in a short span of time, and you're worried about them having the same intensity, and Cabral's got to make a couple of saves. Well, he made a couple of saves. What's wrong with you?
He did. Did you run out of air there at the end? What happened to you, man?
Yeah, because I'm just astounded, that line of questioning. What are you, Shaq with Donovan Mitchell here?
I don't think you're astounded at all.
And you with the personal post. Hey, media, it's now my time. I get the next 17 questions.
Now I asked 3. He's up over there.
Jeez. I'm gonna
PK.
I gotta be there next game so I can interrupt you, because everybody knows when I interrupt you, if I'm not there, you're uninterrupted with your soccer dialogue.
There it is. DJ and PK.
#golf.
Matt Fitzpatrick outduels Scotty Scheffler. Beats him on the first playoff hole to win the RBC Heritage. That's your guy right there, Matty Fitz. You saw him.
Yeah, I was just, I was a week off, but I got it right.
You were a week off. This time, when he broke through and won his major, you were the guy.
Yeah, that was my greatest pick ever.
It. Yeah. Scheffler going low, 64 Saturday, 67 Sunday, and it's still not enough. I mean, he walks away with $2 million.
Still not. He's got Meredith, Bennett, and Remy. It's not enough? What are you kidding? Couldn't be happier, man. Why trade 5 minutes of just fun times for Bennett, Remy, and Meredith? I can't wait for number 3. I hope it's a girl.
A no-cut event. And Tony Finau shoots 3 straight 75s, then a final round 70, finishes last and takes home $30,000, 11 over. And the no-cut premium events, that's supposed to change with this new schedule. There's supposed to be, I don't know if there'll be none of them. There'll be less of them, I suppose.
Fewer of them, if you will, if you want to be grammatically correct.
Yes, that. Grammatically correct, sure. Okay, that'd be good. What is going on with Tony? He didn't qualify for the Masters. It's a bad run of form right now. And he's still young enough. He ought to be the guy he was 3-4 years ago, but it's golf. Stuff goes away. How does he get it back?
Well, is life, other things more important to him than golf? That's a question that I think is fair. And if it is,
up, right?
then he certainly has the right to decide, do I want to practice today, or am I going to go to my kid's event, or whatever I want to do with involving the family. He's got an emerging family, obviously, so he has to figure that out, or is he comfortable? I mean, these are questions that I think they're all on the table, and the answers are so personal that I don't think they can be anything that's debatable. If that's what he wants, or is he still devoting as much time, but the results aren't there? Is something wrong with the swing? Is it the mental aspect of it? Whatever he might, and he's not prominent enough that people are going to ask him those questions because he's not being in the interview situation. But that's for people around here who follow him. They probably would want to know the answers. And if he says, hey, I'm comfortable with where things are in my life, I got to get better in my game. Okay, whatever he says, I think for him is right.
And will carry the day. All right, Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. And What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Shamrock Plumbing bringing you the headlines here this morning. Coming up, we got the question of the day. Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report, is going to join us at 9 o'clock to talk Mammoth playoff hockey. We'll get to the question of the day next. Hot Takes or Toast on the way. Stay with us.
Stay up to date with everything Utah Jazz related with the new Jazz Notes newsletter. Get draft updates, analysis, and be the first to know about every offseason move. Visit KSLSports.com to sign up for the Jazz Notes newsletter.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do-or-die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are brought to you in part by Beehive Meals. The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week.
Listen to who?
Who? Stand by. PK, the question up, inspired by a national TV visit to one Ryan Smith. On the Pat McAfee show, Ryan Smith said, I believe we're going to win a championship here in Utah. There's no woe is me here at all. We're going to do it. Closed quote. What's your confidence level? Royce, Ryan is all in on winning. There's no other owner I'd rather have. We need to, quote, trust the process.
Yeah.
And hope for a good selection this year and for added development of existing players and for all of them to gel together. Having Keontae George progress this year like he did, plus the addition of Jaren Jackson Jr. and how Ace was showing flashes of talent are all hopes for the future. And with some luck, we'll be in the thick of it this time next year. My only thought is, who do we want this year in the draft? Boozer's kid, Peterson, or AJ? I know the answer to that. I think they want AJ. I think everybody thinks they want AJ. You'd settle for the other two if you're picking second or third, but if you're picking first, they're going to pick AJ.
I think so, yeah. I think that's a fact. Hatback tells us he's bullish on the NBA. And you need to think like that. It's obviously against long odds right now. That could change. Check back 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think Hatback is in there for the long run. And with that in mind, it may not even be anybody on this group. They may all be retired with this group of players. So Keontae George and AJ DiBonsa and whomever, they may be long done when that time comes. Who knows? Right? But I think you need to think that way and pursue with the purpose of accomplishing that, and then you go from there.
Lyle says growth on the court is lacking. Fans getting disappointed in the interim. Chances? Less than 50-50 in the next 6 years.
Oh, I would take that.
I would too. I was about to say, who's better than 50-50?
Yeah.
And you could say, Oklahoma City again or San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama. But we've been doing the show long enough, PK, when Oklahoma City got their last group together with Durant and with Harden and Russell Westbrook. And they got to a final and they lost to LeBron. And I was just so impressed. And somewhere in that process, I said, well, they're going to win a championship. And you immediately came back with, I don't know about that. I wouldn't count on that. Maybe they look good, but crazy things happen. And sure enough, ownership broke them up. And they never did get the title. They never got there. So when this current group of Celtics got together, I wanted to say the same, like, these guys will do it. And I was impressed with the way they were playing. They seemed to be in the conference finals every year. Now, they did eventually do it, but I never blurted that out because I remembered our last discussion. There's too many things that can happen. If you had 50-50 of winning a title over a 5 or 6 year span, you probably ought to take it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think that, for the Jazz this next season, it's about them. It's not about anybody else. It's about what they do, because I don't know that they're competing for a title, right? And they have an opportunity. Can they win 40 games? Can they win 45? Can they win 50? I mean, you start getting up into 55. That is high-level territory, right? So I'm not going to go there. And who knows? Maybe they can surprise us. But for the sake of argument and discussion, that it's about them next year. I'm not concerned about any other team in the division, in the conference, in the league.
Doesn't matter. Now, if you want to talk legitimate, hardcore title contender, then that's where you have to factor in who is the competition. Because you may have a great team and you simply are not better than Team X, say, right? But I don't know that they're at that level. Maybe they can pre at that level. Maybe they'll just hit the ground running and it'll just be an incredible run for these guys. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but until I start to see this group having some success, I want to be conservative in my line of thinking. I do think they'll have a fine season next year. I'm anticipating a lot of fun, a lot of home wins for the fans and everything, and that's important. And we want to get that back. Obviously, they want to get it back, and I do think they'll get it back. But if you take it that next step, or how many steps you got, that's where competition comes in. And I always said that the statues, it's not about getting beat to Jordan. It's about getting beat when Jordan was out. It's not about getting beat in the 80s to the Lakers. It's about getting beat when Jordan was not playing those couple of years. That's the stickler for me. If you really have 40% of the 5 greatest players of all time, that was your time, and you didn't get it done. And that's what'll sting, if it does sting for you. If it's not, so be it. It's not so much, they like to say, well, they lost to Jordan and Bavetta got in the way and blah, 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 blah. That's not it. That wasn't the failure. The failure was to capitalize. And for Houston and Olajuwon, he's going to have that stature because he did capitalize on it. Somebody had to capitalize. The door was flung wide open, and the Rockets went through. Good for them. I happen to believe there's no reason why the Jazz couldn't have gone through, but they didn't. That's the stickler there. So because I think the Jazz at some point are going to be a title contender, maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years. Who is the competition? They're not there right now, so I don't care about the competition. I care about them playing good ball next season. So if I'm Ryan Smith, I think that. And my whole goal is that, and certainly he loves going on McAfee because McAfee's cutting edge, and Ryan can wear his hat back and look like he's, all cool in his 30s and look at me, and I get that. That's and it's natural for him. It's new, so it's exciting. He wants to do that, get some national run, and then when he goes to Vegas with the hockey team, he can go out on the plaza and everybody knows who he is. Sure, I would do the same thing, no doubt about it, and I'd have my hat back too, and my Mammoth shirt, jersey, or whatever the weather allows you to do. If it's not too warm, you can wear the whole thing and be a part of the scene. That's what, once you created Qualtrics, that was your destiny, and that's what you wanted. Now you got that. Now go ahead, and if you ever brought a title to either of these teams, particularly the NBA, because it's a little more prominent than the NHL, wow, then you'd really be something. And he should be thinking about that. And shows to the Angels and Jay-Z and everybody else.
You said at the start, and I think it was just kind of, colloquial or something, or just being conversational, I don't know that they're playing for a championship next year. I think you do know, and they're not.
I don't want to rule it out.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be stunning for them to come out of nowhere with as many young players as we think they're going to play, with as many players who've never been in a playoff game as we think, and have them win a championship. I
didn't say win it.
What?
I didn't say win it. There's
a
difference between winning and being a contender.
Would be a massive jump,
Yeah, but see, things can break their way. They can get in the playoff, win a series, and then the series that they would place the winner of, and that team is expected to win, they have a couple of turned ankles and they lose. And all of a sudden, you're playing deep into the second round with a legitimate chance to go to the conference final. So that's why crazy things can happen in the world. And so I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not going to bet on it.
Seems top shelf.
It does.
That they could jump up next year and be on that tier with the Wolves, the Rockets, and the Lakers. And the last time they were in the conference final was that kind of deal. They were in a 4-5 series and they won it. And the 8 upset the 1. So now you got a path to the conference final, and that group took it with Boozer and Williams.
Okay, so they can be in the 7th, and the number 2 gets upset.
And then they got smoked in the conference final.
Fine.
Yeah.
And I would take that for next year.
I would for next year. I would too, but that doesn't have you competing for a championship. That has you opportunistically
suppose you
get
get
into the Western Conference
you're
Final.
the king of wanting the
and we'd all
backdoor
be
stuff.
excited.
You can get that. That's not shocking to me. And the other team gets a couple injuries, and you get that opportunity. And let's see, man. You're going to have a payroll that's going to come approaching that level.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you got the payroll, where much is given, much is expected. Markkanen's got to ball out next year. And I don't want to see him sitting over there smiling with his hair all curled. I don't want to, maybe 10 times. I don't want to see that. Anything beyond that, I'm going to call him out. It seems like I'm the only guy willing to call him out, but I'm going to call him out. I'm tired of him. Well, yeah, I'm going to play for my Finnish national team this summer, and we're going to do really well. No, I want it to be, I'm so gassed because I played so much, played so hard for so long that I don't got anything left. And I need to regroup in the summer instead of going, and then we got to read in July and August. Wow, he had 72 points and 43 rebounds in a game. I don't care. It's not where he's making his money. I want him here doing it for this team.
Well, they won't be tanking next year, so they won't be looking to stash him away. So
right.
We'll see if see if he can actually hold up for 82 games. Well, or like you said, 72.
Well, and then be available for the postseason.
Yep. Which, this year the injuries in the league are bleeding over into the postseason here. I think it's, probably 4 high-profile players sitting out game 1 of the playoffs with an injury. Durant was out, Embiid was out, Doncic is out, Reeves is out.
Don't put Joel on that list. It's news when Joel isn't out.
A lot of money where much is given, much is expected, but you're right, he's out a lot.
And what I'm expecting for him is not to play.
And they're sitting on 45 wins in the 7th seed and probably gone in the first round of the Celtics.
Right. I mean, that's if they re-up him, I mean, come on, he's a heck of a player, but unfortunately,
he doesn't.
I'm not saying he's dogging it. I'm just saying, unfortunately, he just doesn't play very often. It's news when he plays. It's not news the other way. It's dog bites man when he sits, and man bites dog when he plays. But in Markkanen, I was told he had a big bounce back season in his limited deal. Okay, now I play the level that you played this year with your bounce back season, and do it 65, 70 times, and then they'll be in the thick of the playoff. And if a couple of things break their way, who's to say? But when Hatback says that he's bullish on the NBA and he expects to win a title, that could be 20 years from now. So it may have not anything to do with any of these guys. Maybe somebody in the 2nd grade right now.
Even if it's 4 or 5 years from now, where will the 2 most expensive guys be? Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen are getting $50 million a year, and they're signed up for 3 years. This team could look very different in 4 years. So,
most teams do.
Yeah. Royce with that trust the process line, man. That thing got used with Philadelphia. Do we want to hear anybody say trust the process anymore? Since that process,
Kyle Whittingham uses it all the time. Don't use that phrase, but organic. Not Kevin, but Dennis Lindsay used to like to say organically.
Organic development.
That was their big phrase because he knew trust the process has already been taken. So since it's already been taken, you can't really do that. I mean, your guy Pablo says it too. I mean, it's just that's a phrase that means essentially don't hold me accountable if we lose.
Brian says, I didn't catch the show. However, if Ryan is talking about the Mammoth, I would agree. If he's talking about the Jazz, never, all caps, exclamation point.
That's
never.
You didn't catch the show? This is 2026. I didn't catch the show either.
Go watch this clip on social media.
I don't ever watch McAfee. The only time I see it is in the 5 minutes that we're in the studio here and the TV is on. Although the TV hasn't been on for almost a month now.
Turn that thing on.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
I never had to. If I don't have to learn something, forget it. And that's the only time I've ever watched the show. And I watched it when Kyle drove across the stage in his motorcycle because we talked about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, so you can catch the show. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see Love Boat Saturday. How was the episode?
Brilliant. Tremendous writing.
They sailed out of San Pedro, California, my California hometown.
You just watched for the Open. Pedro!
Well, at the time, I did not know I was going to be living there.
Alex says, win a championship, 0% with the defensive levels the last 3 years. I think it's actually the last 4, Alex, but I get your point. I think we're all anticipating that is about to change. And if it doesn't, then it'll drag them down. There's no doubt about it.
Sure, but again, it could be 20 years from now.
Yeah.
He
bought the club young enough that his runway is pretty long.
He didn't put a timetable on it. I don't think that. I watched the whole thing, not live, amazingly. I had my daughter figure out how I can find it. I'm just kidding. Just type in McAfee and away you go. Who knows what is in store. I think the thing that if I'm a Jazz fan is that he seems to be aggressive enough to want to make the moves when the time comes, whenever that may be. Maybe it's with this group, and they just need a little bit more. That's what I took from that, is that when he says that, he really believes it, I think he really believes it, which means he's going to do whatever possible is to say, we did it. That's the most important thing. I don't know the timeline, and no one does, and I don't know the core of players. I hope it's this core of players. That'd be great. But if it's not, there'll be another time. The fact is, in 10, 15 years, when he's, around 60 or so, that it most likely, definitely will be an entirely different group. But if he has the passion and commitment and wants it, then he's going to do what it takes to get it done. That doesn't mean it's going to get done, but because he can't play, he can only have the wherewithal to try all that was in his power, so to speak, to be able to do it, right? It's the Mark Cuban thing. He's this version of Mark Cuban. He struck it big, came out of nowhere, and then became a big-time celebrity, right? I don't know that you can find a better comparison. Well, Cuban's team got it done. Were they the best team? No, I don't think so. But a bunch of events transpired, and they got it done.
And they got there.
Yeah. So that's why I don't see much difference between those two. And if events transpire their way, they can get it done too. And
Man
there's no
says, my
doubt in my
confidence
mind.
level is 0. You do not build a winning culture by losing on purpose. Ainge should be fired. Smith should be forced out. They've failed our community.
That's over. That's over. It's no. Forced out. That's ridiculous.
And Oklahoma City lost on purpose, built a winning culture, and won a championship. So I disagree with the premise.
Well, the Spurs lost on purpose too.
It's been done recently. And it may be San Antonio may be about to do it here in 2 more months. And if not, in a year and 2 months.
Well, they're going to be contenders for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see how these rules change on that. I think they need a total overhaul. Forget that we're going to try to limit your ability to win. And if you're going to limit my ability to lose to win, then you've got to eliminating my ability to win. If I want to pay whatever I want to pay, so be it. And it's bad for the league. And dynasties are awesome. Name me a time a dynasty happened in pro sports that was bad.
It's frustrating for the teams that are close and can't win it. But the hate watching, it draws eyeballs. Are those guys going to win again? Man, it worked for the Patriots in the NFL. We saw that.
Tell me when it didn't work. Don't tell me when it did work.
Last time they had it rolling. It's working with the Dodgers right now.
Tell me when it didn't work. I know when it happens, it does work. Tell me when it happened and it didn't work.
All the recent dynasties have led to this.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds good that they did that because that's the way the people who run the league kind of believe in that politically, but I don't think it's the right way to go.
The commissioner's going to say that because you got 29 frustrated owners or however many teams are in your league. You got one team winning. And the commissioner wants to keep his job. I get the politics that lead to somebody saying that. But the results for the league, as far as eyeballs on the league, whether it's tickets or merchandise sale or TV ratings or whatever, it has a gigantic impact. It draws people's
Shouldn't
attention.
by definition then every year you have 29 frustrated teams? When would that change?
But when it's the same 29 3 or 4 years in a row, that's when commissioners start saying that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I don't know what was going on when the Celtics were doing that. I can't speak to that.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us. We'll get to the Mammoth and the playoffs at the top of the hour right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And now, a look at traffic from the KSL Traffic Center.
Got a crash southbound I-15 at 2600 South and Woods Cross is blocking the right shoulder. Heavy delays reaching back all the way into Centerville at this moment with that. Northbound I-15 has pockets of slowdowns between 123rd South up to the I-80-201 interchange in South Salt Lake, so be aware of that if you're headed northbound. Also northbound Bangor Highway, Mount View Corridor still heavy and slow throughout West Valley City this morning. This is Mother's Day treat mom to something unforgettable at the Roof with our brand new spring into summer brunch menu that she will love. Celebrate mom in style above the heart of Salt Lake City. Go to theroofslc.com for more information and reservations. With your KSL traffic update, I'm Jake Hatch right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Want to get the latest info on Utah's newest sports franchise? Sign up for the Utah Mammoth newsletter. Get exclusive analysis, plus the latest news and notes on the Utah Mammoth. Sign up today at KSLSports.com for the Utah Mammoth newsletter.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. PK, you enjoy that weather this weekend? Get out and golf a little bit?
Oh, yes, I did. My wife and I got paired up with 4 women. Now, that's a total of 5 women. And, really, back in my ASU days, that's no big deal. So I've had experience with that.
Yeah.
Yes. So there were 2 women that played and 2 women who just drove along. They were the chauffeurs.
Okay. I was gonna ask how you playing with 6 out there, like
very slowly. That's how you would play.
Okay, anyways, continue.
So it was 4 of us playing, and 2 women each driving. So that would have been a total of 5, counting my old lady. And we got in the back 9, and they were asking questions, and and let's face it, my face looks older than dirt. Are you retired? No, I am not. It's not even on my mind. No. Especially now with this rejuvenation on the zone, which will be later announced later here. Stay with us. It's exciting news forthcoming. And so then they started to guess my occupation, and they had 3 guesses. And I want you two to guess what those occupations were.
Gravedigger.
No.
Stockbroker.
You're along the line.
I was going to say insurance, like broker.
Somebody said, "Are you in finance?"
Okay.
And I laughed.
Financial analyst.
Okay,
yeah.
fair, yeah.
Okay.
Am I in finance? I don't know the first friggin' thing about that.
You talk finances from time to time.
I don't do any of our finances. I know nothing. I show up for work. I got a couple of streams of income that are direct deposit. And when I come home, occasionally there's some 20s on my dresser.
That's how PK's world works.
That's it. I have a friend who says, "Oh, how much did you pay? What is the green fee at fill in the blank course?" I say, "I don't know." Now I've got one friend now. He knows never to ask me that. He asks her, "What did you pay?" Because he knows. Like I told you last year, we were going to go to Hawaii, and I told the guy, "Oh, I don't think we can afford it." And he looked at me and he said, "How would you know?" And he was right.
Okay, we're getting off the topic here. Finance. I'm going to go with, because of the Vegas showgirl, I'm going to think somebody thinks you were in modeling or clothing.
I appreciate the compliment, but no.
Okay.
I look hot in leather. What can I say?
That's true.
Aviation. You look like a pilot. Man of your experience.
No.
What were the other guesses then?
Well, the other one was accountant, which was sort of along the line.
That's finance. Those are hand in hand.
I was never going to go back to that.
Which is why I gave it to you.
I thought I had something with aviation. I thought I was.
And no, if they only knew, man. And I'm a klutz when it comes to math. They have no ability to do anything like that. It couldn't be further from the truth. And then the third one was, generally speaking, sales. And
fair.
I wouldn't know how to sales.
But they're thinking about, okay, he's here in the afternoon playing golf. What would allow him to?
His own schedule.
Yeah, but it was the weekend. But
yeah, okay.
And sales, that would require you to have a personality and to be friendly. And I have neither of those.
Give me that Family Feud X.
And then I told them my job, and they were all from Seattle. They were on a house swap deal. So there was 4 couples, and so the 4 husbands who played golf were behind us. So
in the next group, yeah.
Yeah, which made me a little nervous that they didn't want to play with them, because I'll play golf with my wife anytime. But they were in the group behind us. And they told us there's just something you go online and you can use our house and we'll use your house. So they're all from Seattle on a golf trip in the St. George area. And and the one gal asked me, how do I get out of the sand? And I told her, I said, make sure you take a real swing. I'll hit it way long. No, you won't if you do what I tell you to do. And she did it and she got out. And she looked at me with when you go to teach some. I had this when I was student teaching, and that I would teach a concept in English. And I remember a kid, I got it now. And I felt like so overwhelmed with joy that the kid got the concept that I was trying to teach him. And she hit a nice shot out of the trap. Oh, I got it now. And I felt great. And so did she.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah Mammoth with a playoff defeat. What do they learn from this? What will it mean for Game 2? We will get to that coming up. And big money in college sports. I don't know about this whole donor fatigue thing, PK. We'll get to that at 8:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
I'm proud of the way where our guys were mentally. I think at this point, as a coach, what you need to do is make sure your team is in the right mindset, the right approach, they're in control, and they control their performance.
The Utah Mammoth get beaten their playoff opener. There's the head coach, Andre Torney, right there, and love the approach. They led after 1 period. They led 2-1 after 2 periods, but they get beat 4-2 as they give up 3 goals in the third, the last one an empty netter. And it just didn't seem quite as crisp and locked in from getting the goaltender off the ice when they wanted the extra skater there in the last couple minutes. That seemed a little things didn't seem quite crisp and on point, PK. And, man, on that broadcast, they made a big deal about the Mammoth lack of playoff experience, the Mammoth ability through those first 2 periods to answer everything Vegas threw at them. Walking away from that game, I did think, how are they going to score? The goals were coming they were just coming in bunches. They're coming so fast at the end of the year. But playoff hockey's bound to be different. There's way more jersey on the ice. There's way more attitude, more checking, more collisions, more, if not fighting, like skirmishes and that kind of stuff. And it seems like they need an extra gear. And it seemed like Vegas found one in that third period.
Well, so you're saying that you were their skater boys, I'll see you later, boys? I mean, let's give them an opportunity to warm up to the situation here. We always go nuts. We do this as basketball. Oh, my gosh, Detroit lost home court. Oh, let's break them up. Let's sell the franchise and move them. It's one game.
They're done. They're cooked.
Yeah, every year. Let's just see what happens here as far as them seeing what this is about and the younger guys. And, I mean, obviously you're going to go into the final period up. You're in the game. And so the way I look at it is they scored 2 goals. Those empty netters, they count. I get it, but they don't really count in the context of how the game is played, right? They count on the scoreboard, so you got to go in that direction, and that's the official score is 4-2. But what can they learn from it? What can the coaching staff impart? Because they're going to be veteran guys. And there are a couple, they got some veteran guys on the team. And so where do they go from here? It seemed like there was a bunch of guys that Vegas was going to be physical and it's going to knock you around. And guys like Dursey find themselves on the ice laying down, and guys are on top of them or standing over them and all that. And what can you do to match it, and can you get back to playing what your style is? Keller and his line didn't have a very good game, or at least impact the game the way they want to. So what can they do there to make that better, different? Let's see what happens. We were talking to the Vegas guy on Friday, and he was talking about how he expects the series to be 2-2.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's something that, you got at that point, it's anybody's series, obviously. It becomes best of 3. We'll see if it even gets to that. But the point being, this guy has been following his Vegas team all season. We haven't. And he's expecting it to be a tight series. The thing that's concerning me is teams can get on runs. We talked about the Mets earlier, and for whatever reason, man, they can't buy a break. If there's going to be something going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong. It's going to happen, right? Losing 11 in a row, not on a team that is understood to be rebuilding. They signed Bichette off Toronto here with the idea of contending in this, and Lindor and Soto and all that stuff, right? And it's not happening for them. Well, on the flip side, the Golden Knights make a change, 9 games ago, counting this game last night with Tortorella, and they haven't lost. So that makes me a little concerned. Are they just on some magical run? They've struck lightning. Every time you make a coaching change, that's what you're hoping to do, is strike lightning. We've even heard that phrase used in those situations. They shake it up right at the end, and they haven't lost. They're 8-0-1 since he's been there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know that they know, but can they ride that wave of momentum? Maybe so. And I would expect that they would win the series, but let's see what the Mammoth can do to adjust.
They had that graphic during the game that during that stretch, and this would actually be a little worrisome, I think. It will be encouraging for Vegas and worrisome for the Mammoth, is that in this streak, the average score, and they had it out like a couple decimals, I forget what it was, like 4.16 or something like that to 1.88 goals. It was basically 4-2. And then they went out and won a 4-2 game. Now, like you said, we weren't there watching these 8 games in the streak, but it's basically, did they unlock something? Is this what they do?
Right.
Right down to it was the average score, which probably, those games probably factored in some empty netters, just as we saw an empty netter.
Of course, you have to.
Yeah. And on the call, we played it earlier this morning, that second goal, I thought Mike Folta identified it correctly live, and it was hard to tell what the heck happened, even with the first couple of replays on TV. But it looked like a bounce, like the goaltender made the save, and then the defenseman's facing his own goal, and it comes up and it hits his body and then takes a bounce and goes in. And he's swinging at it with a stick, but with the hop, it just swung through it. So it was a break to get that second goal. As much as this is about great defense and all that, how are the Mammoth going to find a way to score? And it could just be as simple as, hey, one line can't be on every game. Keller's line could come out and be really good in game 2. I mean, who's to say?
Right, and it's going to have to be.
It is going to have to be. I agree with that. They're going to need something, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty quiet.
Tortorella's been around the block a long time. He's been coaching for almost 40 years. He's 67 years old. He's calling Kyle Whittingham, hey, what's up, kid?
Hey, kid.
And so that does have a little bit of level of concern. And we're not to this point yet, but we could very well get there where it's like, okay, yeah, man, we had a good season. Our goal was to make the playoffs, and we did. I don't want that to settle in. You cannot accept anything under any circumstances. You're not playing with house money. This is professional sports. You're playing with real money. It's not fake money, and it's not somebody else's money. It's your money, literally and figuratively. I refuse to, at the pro level, which is now the college level, accept that, we're playing with house money. It doesn't really matter. Yes, it does. I know you reached your initial goal, but no team just has one goal, and that's it. And when you catch the rabbit, they take you out of the race in dog racing. No, because it's not a real rabbit, and you find out, okay, he ain't going to do that anymore. No, that's not the case here. You've come too far to roll over. Not that I'm saying that they will, but I'm concerned if it gets to that point that'll be the mindset, and I don't like that mindset. I want something to the wall at all times.
Well, they found another gear to play at in the playoffs, but then when it required yet another upgrade there in the third period, they weren't up to it. But it was their first playoff game, so, hey, figure it out, go out, figure out a way to solve that problem in Game 2, and it's 1-1, and then you're down to a best of 5, and maybe that 2-2 prediction will end up being spot on. Maybe that'll be it. We'll talk about that with Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report. He's going to join us coming up at 9:05.
Right. To me, this is just it's fun. As the fans, I don't have any problem if fans want to take that perspective, but I don't want the players to think, well, we achieved our goal. I find it fun. I have a little throwback to my youth because in Los Angeles, I was doing tons of sidebars for Kings hockey in the playoffs, the secondary stories. I was doing the visitors' locker room and interviewing the likes of Jeff Courtnall. I don't know, people don't remember him. But that was a long time ago, and then I moved up here, and we don't have that, and so I'm not doing that. So I got away from that. It's fun to get back into it and cover a hockey series in the manner that I did in the early 90s. Which is forever ago, I know that, and to see the types of things that fans can relate to with basketball, the twists and turns, and I think that in basketball, it's more of a predictable sport than you have in the hockey. So things that you think for years, okay, the statues are going to control the game for the Jazz, and Jerry Sloan's going to stand up and put the 4-down signal, right? We can set our watches by it, and they're going to sub, especially when John got older. We knew everything. If you follow the team, you knew the familiarities, right? Well, this sport can be a little unpredictable. As you just said, the Mammoth were fortunate to get a lucky bounce, and someone was there. Boom, goal, away you go. Well, suppose you get 2 lucky bounces or 3 lucky bounces. It can happen. Things can change quickly. I mean, just look at when the game was 1-0 and then boom, and then it goes to 1-1 and then 2-1,
2-1 real quick.
And then right, exactly. You can just go up and down, up and down, up and down. And in terms of scoring, nothing is happening. There's action, but it's not resulting in points on the board. Well, and then boom, in a 2 or 3 minute span. That's what makes this sport unpredictable and exciting. And you sit there and you watch it, and a lot of times you can't even figure out what happened until they really slow it down. And then they got to slow it down like 2 or 3 times before you can really see what happened. Because it just goes by so fast. Things can happen here. And
the other replay that I thought was really telling was in the third period, and they were down by then 3-2, and they had a really good sequence that ended up with, I think it was Schmidt getting a shot. I mean, he's just basically just walking straight in. It had the whole goal to shoot at, and no one skating to him. He took the shot, and it looked like it was on target, and it looked like Hart got the deflection with like his right collarbone, right? Just really fortunate. And it's a game of inches. Pablo said this once about soccer, and it's true about hockey too. It's a little whimsical, right? You take the shot, it hits the frame. Does it go in or does it go out? It hits the pipes. Does it go in or go out? You got a round puck hitting a round frame, and what happens? It's like you need a little luck and a little good fortune mixed in with all the other stuff.
I think so, to an extent. Yeah, right.
You got to bring the toughness and hit it, and you got to the tactical awareness. Obviously, Keller got beat goal side. That's a little more strategic, and that was the first goal. But you still need some breaks. A collarbone save, Hart was fortunate. He did the right thing, but then in the end he was fortunate.
Yeah, I think that you have to be putting yourselves in the position to take advantage of it. It's like a fumble in football. Yeah. It could be scooting around and squirting left and right, and then some big lineman is right there. But he's only right there because he's taught to be right there. And you don't give up, and you keep going because you don't know what's going to happen, and then you take advantage of it if that opportunity comes. I think the same type of thing here. So I would never bet, and it's easy to say that I expected it, and I would have bet. And if I'm back in Jersey, I just got a smack in the back of the head. Shut up! You don't say you would have bet. You say you did bet. And so that's the way bettors reacted. They don't want to hear that you're second guessing and you got no money on it. They want to see your ticket stub that says, yeah, I bet on it and I did what I did, and so I called it ahead of time. Then you got credibility. So I have zero credibility when I say this. I understand that, is that I would have thought that this would have been the result just because of the lack of exposure. Not just experience, but exposure. And then, Sergachev can have all the experience that he wants, but he's playing with guys who don't have the experience.
Yeah.
So that puts him in a different situation as opposed to when he was with Tampa. It's totally different now, so it doesn't really matter how much experience he had. Now, if he's got 6-7 guys, as Tampa did when they're doing their thing, that's another story. And so everybody's got it together. This group doesn't have it together as far as the experience goes. So to me, and totally easy to say, I get it, because I didn't go on Twitter or whatever and say, I expect them to lose on Saturday or Sunday morning, afternoon. But I'm really not surprised by this result. And let's see what they do tomorrow night. And that's the great thing about it, is that, we get going here every other day. They get a travel day from Vegas to here isn't much, but because then they play again on Friday, and so we'll see where they're at that point.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Surprising development in some stories over the weekend. Well, surprising to me, the big money just gets bigger. This whole thought of donor fatigue, man, if you want to compete, PK, mounds and mounds of cash. We will get to that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Want to get the latest info on Utah's newest sports franchise? Sign up for the Utah Mammoth newsletter. Get exclusive analysis, plus the latest news and notes on the Utah Mammoth. Sign up today at KSLSports.com for the Utah Mammoth newsletter.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. College football, it never really goes away, PK.
No, it don't, man. I was watching the man in blue, dark blue. They had their scrimmage. Michigan Wolverines had their scrimmage, and I was checking that out on the Big Ten network there. And it's just, we got everything done that we wanted to get done. And I feel like you can go back to 2005, 2006, 2007. The one thing I did notice, he's being interviewed, and his wife walked behind him, and it looked like it was maybe 40 degrees and a little drizzly and cloudy, and and having extended family in Michigan and having been back there several times, that's what you're getting back there, man. Good weather's in short supply.
She just needs to keep an eye on the weather and be prepared. It's time to visit the grandkids. Yeah, it's 40 degrees warmer there. Let's go.
Yeah, they've got grandkids there. I think they got 3.
They got grandkids there and here, so she just sees.
Yeah.
Whichever grandkids have the best weather.
But it does. Life goes on, man. Change comes and change goes, and life goes on. Oh, blah dee blah da.
Yeah, right. I think a lot of people probably saw the video at Virginia Tech of the skydiver, and he hit the scoreboard, which is actually apparently separate from the stadium. It's another 30 yards or so off the end of the stadium, but it's huge, so you can't really tell right away, and there's a walkway underneath it, and it's a fairly dramatic video. The other news that came out of that, James Franklin really didn't seem to know much about it other than it looked terrifying. But he was talking about how he walked away from $40 million worth of buyout. He negotiated the buyout at Penn State was $49 million. He took it down to $9 million. He wasn't really interested in gifting him the $40 million, but he wanted to coach, and you can't put a price on some things. So he went to Virginia Tech where he was wanted and walked away from the $40 million. And just about the time you're thinking, like, how big can the money get? Since our show ended on Friday, Auburn announced a $320 million stadium renovation. Nebraska announced $600 million, and they're bonding for $350, but they raised $250 million. Now, you were just talking about your hockey writing days, PK, and those were in the 90s, which you realize is a long time ago. Well, yeah, that's the last time Nebraska was winning national titles. I mean, in the history of game, they're a big, big deal. But for the last generation, in the lifetime of these players, they are not a big deal. But how much you win isn't what schools are aligning. Right now, they're aligning around money right now. Money and the opportunity to make money, those two things. And, you know, we're all anticipating some type of realignment. Maybe it's major, maybe it's minor, but there's going to be something going on at the end of the decade when the TV deals are up. And it looks like everyone's aligning around money. And you look at Nebraska's a Big Ten school, Auburn's an SEC school. Those are the two leagues with the most money. I'm not convinced they're going to stay shoulder to shoulder. You know, we went from 6 to 5, from 5 to 4. We've really gone to 2, but at some point will we just go to one power league? I mean, that seems to be where we're trending. I don't know why we'd stop at 2. But the price tag to get into those two leagues and to compete in those two leagues is massive. I mean, I thought that Auburn story was huge, and then I saw the Nebraska story and thought, you raised $250 million and you're bonding for another $350. And they're building more luxury suiting, so they're expecting more people with big money to come in and buy these suites and buy these seats. And can our teams keep up with that? I mean, the price tag is huge, and I know we will not be outbid. We've heard that from BYU. We haven't heard that kind of dramatic talk from Utah. We've heard it from BYU. And mostly I've just believed it. Honestly, mostly I've just thought, well, you got enough billionaires and you'll do it. And then I see a $600 million price tag out of Nebraska, and I'm like, oh, will they really do it? I mean, that is just a pile of cash.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if it comes up, if it's essentially an expansion fee to get on the other side and not be left out, I don't think that, certainly from the BYU perspective, that anybody will keep them out. If it's a money deal, they'll come up with the money. Those folks in and around the program will come up with the money. There's zero doubt in my mind that if that's the case. And all that other stuff, that is a form of investment, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you talk about, I like it, people in seats and suites. So that's, over time, the money that is outlaid will be recouped. Now, you have to win. As far as that goes, you know, reading up on Jose Feliciano, the new about them, and his wife, two Princeton graduates who, that Princeton's in New Jersey, and that what they're going to do as private equity, and what the prior owner, who is deceased now, how he put in the money, and then the fans came flocking. I mean, not flocking is maybe an understated word. I mean, 42,000 Tuesday, 42,000 Saturday, 42,000 Sunday afternoon, 42,000. That is extremely impressive. And I don't care what the situation is. Oh, there's the Chargers left and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter to me. You're still winning, and you're putting in 42,000. That is eye-opening. That's what it's about. And the way that thing has been run has been excellent. They haven't gotten to the World Series and blah, blah, blah. But they don't control that. That's stuff that goes out on the field. And so here, you're going to put out this money for this and that. If you put out the product and invest in a product, you will get the money back. I really believe that. I mean, you saw what the Utes did with the Garf South End Zone, right? A very impressive facility, and, I'm down there all the games, and that's where I usually stand, and that place looks pretty packed. If it gets out of hand, maybe in a late game, people take off, or that ASU game when it was raining like a mother, but we're concerned about this player safety, and so we'll have them play in tornadoes and hurricanes. Because we got to keep the TV window. That's a joke. Don't tell me you're concerned about the TV window, and if the players have to play in lousy conditions, so be it. We're not going to mess up the TV window because that's where the money is. Always, under every circumstance, follow the money, and that'll lead you to the reasons behind decisions. And that's why there should have been no way, not to say that the ASU would have won the game. That's not the point. But that people had to play in those conditions, yeah, that's ridiculous. But if you win and put the product out on the field, you'll get that money back, and I think you'll get it back tenfold. And that's what we're going to continue to see. And I don't know that it's going to go back. I don't see where it's going to go back. I just wonder, in 10 years, are we going to hear, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is the wild, wild west. This is unsustainable. It's okay, it can fly now because it's relatively brand new, right? Mm-hmm. But as each year goes by, we're all guys like me who wake up, how can I be the most cynical person I can be today? And there's a million of guys like me who are gonna follow, and they're gonna say, this is a joke. We can't keep saying what we can't keep saying is keep saying that it's unsustainable as we go to year 5, to year 6, and then the year 10, and so forth. Right? At some point, it's going to be sustainable, and the only thing is we're going to keep saying it's unsustainable. But right now, the facts and the metrics show, as crazy as it is, it's sustainable. It's crazily sustainable. How about that?
But is the answer it's sustainable there, but it's not sustainable here? There being Auburn or Nebraska.
But that's always been that way, man. Oregon with the old man's money. And
I know, but these schools are
sustainable.
But these schools are dreaming of playing at the highest level. The Utes got a taste of it with those back-to-back Rose Bowls and the 4 Pac-12 title games. BYU wants it too. And they got to catch up. And you got to catch up to people who are accelerating.
They always had to catch up to people.
Nebraska and Auburn are not on top of their game. Like if Michigan and Ohio State and Oregon generate a ton of cash, or Texas, well, they've had recent success. Auburn hasn't had success in a decade. Nebraska hasn't had that kind of success in more than 2 decades.
So?
But they're finding a way to accelerate.
Right.
So can these guys accelerate and keep up with them? Because I think you're right. I think the most likely scenario is that right now everybody's saying it's not sustainable, but we're going to find out it is sustainable at 20 or 30 or 40 schools. But those schools include,
how is that any different?
Will those schools include our schools? Well, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, I don't think these schools here dreamed of competing at that level.
What
now
schools?
I think they do, but to make it a reality.
What schools? Our schools you're talking about?
Yeah, Utah and BYU did not.
But BYU won the national championship in '84. They thought they were playing at that level. Even if they weren't, they thought they were.
And then when the sport accelerated, they didn't think they were anymore.
Oh, I don't know about that. In '96, I think they did. And in Utah, in 2008, Kyle's saying we could play anybody. I'm voting us to be the national champion. And they thought they could. And they're putting more than half of their defense got drafted and played in the NFL. I mean, what more metric do you want than how many guys go to the NFL? Yeah, I thought they thought they could. It may be foolish. I had fans that, and this is just anecdotal, so it's not like it's conclusive proof, but I kept telling them, stay in your lane here, man. You got a really good program, but you're not on that level. And they think that they were. And then they got slapped into reality, but just you get slapped down, you get back up, and away you go.
But the line was blurrier. That was an era when BYU won the national title.
2-3 years ago.
That was an era when you could still play a Big Ten team in a bowl game, and they are just pulling away. And the thing is that Kyle has told us, and he's been right so many times when he said this stuff, there's going to be a major line drawn. There's going to be this separation. Before it was kind of blurry. Even though you weren't in their league, you could kind of compete with them, and you could point at 84 or 2008 or whatever else.
You don't think that BYU and Utah are going to think that we can compete with Rutgers and Purdue and Maryland at any time? And Illinois, the list goes on. I can name you 10, 15, 20 teams that are over on the other side that they think that they can compete with. You don't think Texas Tech is thinking that, and Dillingham down in Tempe is thinking that they went toe-to-toe and lost by an inch to Texas. And so, I don't see it. I don't see where anything is changing in that way. There's always going to be the teams that are for sure. The teams that are for sure that are halves is like Ohio State and, Georgia, right? Yeah. And Alabama. Well, Alabama's had a coaching change, and so how's that going to play out? They sure did okay this year. Miami thinks they can change. Miami hasn't had the success that they had under Jimmy Johnson in a long while, but they still think that they're capable of competing. And the money is going to take the upsets out of it, of Cinderella upsets of Appalachian State beating Michigan. But that was such a few and far between type of thing. I really don't see the competitive balance changing. What can be done to change is if you get a Cody Campbell and he says, I'm going to put in whatever it takes. But that's already been done. We already have the history with Phil Knight doing the exact same thing of when we were kids. You got Oregon as a road game? Sweet. That means I don't have to worry about going up there and getting a road win because they suck. Well, now he put in all that money, and it's been a whole generation of people who think Oregon is a really good football program. And in 15 years, in 20 years, there's going to be a whole generation of Texas Tech, even though they've won their first outright title ever, 80 years. I don't see where that's any different. If you flush the program with tons of money, you too can compete.
So do you think Kyle's right and there's going to be some big separation here at the end of the decade and some big realignment around money? Because if there isn't, then that scenario you say, you're always, you're $1 billionaire away. And it's happened all over the country. Teams that have been down have gotten a big injection of money. Oklahoma State had T. Boone Pickens when he was alive, and they followed the Oregon model to a T. And Texas Tech is following the model.
To a T. Boone.
To a T-Boone, right. And you've still got access to the playoffs, so you've still got access. You can do it. It isn't the complete separation where we're playing at a different level and you're just you're not even in the swimming pool
But I think
anymore.
That's already been the case. Was Oregon State playing at the same level as Oregon? Was the U of A? In basketball, yes, because that's where they put most of their money, and that's where they're going to continue to do it. And so they've been able to be really good in basketball. But in football, you have the occasionals. That's why Dillingham talks a good game, and I give him credit for doing all that. But until I see them competing 5 out of 7 years at a high level, they what they did 2 years ago, they've done that before. It's about, can you sustain it? You can strike gold occasionally. That's happened. It's football, man. It's hard to see these stars don't always pan out. We've seen it over and over again. So you can get that occasionally, but can you do it consistently? That's what remains to be seen. And then I think that my instinct says that, sure, the SEC and the Big Ten, in a sense, have already broken away. The Big Ten's going to tell you we've broken away. We dominated in basketball. We dominated in football. What more domination do you want? And so in their minds, they've already broken away. But then you're going to get the political people involved, and so you're not going to have that it's just going to be 25, 30, 40 teams. What's going to happen to Kansas State? They deserve to be left out? No, they don't deserve to be left out. So they'll have some form of access in the manner that we had James Madison and Tulane get in this year, right? So then down the road, we'll have Kansas State and Arizona. If they don't get across the line, those types will have access to whatever creation they come up in the next decade when TV puts a massive influence upon it now. We already had James Madison and Tulane. You're telling me we're not going to have Arizona State and Texas Tech have opportunities? BYU, Utah, if they shouldn't get in? And they have good histories. They send people to the pros. They've got sellouts all the time. I don't buy it.
As this money accelerates, it will be interesting to see if it's Auburn and Nebraska where there's no pro sports competition. Even Texas Tech is geographically removed from Houston, Dallas, even San Antonio and Austin.
It's 300 miles away from Dallas.
I know. And so here, Utah and BYU are competing with the NBA and the NHL, and ASU is competing with the NFL and Major League Baseball and the NBA. Be interesting to see if that turns out to be a big old disadvantage with the money in town.
Well, hasn't that already been that way?
It has to a degree. Probably Michigan is an example of somebody who's overcome that right in the shadow of Detroit.
Yeah, but the Lions have sucked forever.
They have. But they have all four there, and the Red Wings had a great run, and the Tigers won World Series.
Well, the good thing about Michigan from that perspective is they've got literally since the dawn of time of the sport to create all this enormous momentum.
Right.
And I don't think that that's going to change. They can create 10 new major league sports teams, whatever, and put them there.
Go back to fielding Yost in 1900 and whatever.
Right. And so they've got such a head start that they can withstand that.
All right, DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jay Stevens, Utah Puck Report on the playoff opener, adjustments for Game 2. We'll talk with him at the top of the hour. We'll talk Mammoth and Golden Knights. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Whether you're stuck in the office,
I believe you have my stapler,
in your car, or at your in-laws.
You want a piece of me? You bet I do.
The Zone is with you every step of the way. Download the KSL Sports app to get live streaming of your favorite shows and access to all the latest updates on your favorite teams. Your home for the best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth is on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
Leaves it behind the net, but not a clear play. Quinn walks it out to the slot. Shot scores! Matthias Samuelsson! Are you kidding me? 3 straight from the Sabres, and they've erased the deficit and taken their first playoff lead.
The Buffalo Sabres, what a comeback. They haven't been in the playoffs forever. They were down 2-0 with 8 minutes left in the game. They scored 4 times in 7 minutes. Good thing they got the empty netter. They needed it because they gave up a late goal. They win 4-3. That comeback, well, that's the play of the game right there. Know it this afternoon after 3 o'clock. The guys will call for it. And if you know what the play is, you can win fabulous prizes. DJ and PK, there's the Chevy Strong play of the game. Coming up top of the hour, we are going to talk Utah Mammoth playoff hockey. Jay will join us, and he'll get his take on Game 1 and how things play out in Game 2. The other story, which we don't have much time for today, PK, with all the playoff hockey and that, but we got to get to it in the next day. And we were talking about Ryan Smith earlier this morning and him talking about the Jazz winning a championship, and he has zero doubt that'll happen. But you mentioned in the last segment, the NFL draft is coming up. It was a little quiet last year locally. This year, maybe a couple of first-round picks and a lot of guys going throughout the course of the draft. Some of them Utah high school products, guys you've been following since they were in the 10th grade dominating. What will happen with Lander Barton? Will he get drafted? Will he be an undrafted free agent and get to pick his spot? Does he want to be drafted? Would he prefer to pick his landing place?
Well, I think you always want to be drafted. I think that's the spin if you're not drafted. But I do think that you want to be drafted. And
more invested in you.
My assumption is he's going to be drafted if you use him as an individual. And the Utes should have 2 guys drafted in the first round. And we'll see about BYU. Jack Kelly, I'd be surprised if he's not drafted. He was such a fun player to watch. And kind of local player. Had to, I guess you could say, go to Weber State. And then Jay Hill takes him down. And, boy, he was a great playmaker. He's one of the great linebackers. BYU has had a slew of them. And I think Jack Kelly's name needs to go right there. I wouldn't necessarily put him at the top. And then we're always skewed by the level of success that those individuals have at the pro level, which is what you're going to put with Warner and Van Noy. Is if you had any doubt, well, my gosh, look at them at the pro level. They've just been incredible. Van Noy's still going and well in his 30s, and Fred Warner, when he's healthy, is arguably the best at his position. But that's sort of beside the point at the college level. Jack Kelly has yet to play a professional down, but, man, he had such an impact. It seemed like he was making big plays all over the field practically for them. So I think that would be something that we'll watch. And then a bunch of guys, and I say that you'd rather be drafted than undrafted, and you use that spin to try to put the best positive light about not being drafted. Well, I get to choose. I'm not so sure that's exactly true. You may get to choose to an extent, but the fact remains that rosters are littered with non-drafted guys in the NFL, so it doesn't really mean anything that if you didn't get drafted. because you'll still have that opportunity. We can all name plenty of guys. Taysom Hill, I believe, was not drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made oodles and oodles of money at the NFL level, and good for him. And so there's been other guys, too. I don't think it was Reno. Reno wasn't drafted, right? And he played a number of years in the NFL. I mean, we can go on and on with him. What's his face? Huntley was not drafted, right? He's still playing, isn't he? He's lasted. Yeah,
Yep.
Good for him. That's just the Tyler Huntley story is just a great, great story.
He's bounced around a little bit, a long time in Baltimore, a little bit of time in Cleveland and Miami. And I do wonder with Harbaugh in New York if he'll end up, that seems to be another potential landing place. So much of it's about relationships and, veterans you trust, especially bench guys who aren't going to play a lot. So that might be another spot for him. And there are a lot of those guys, and a lot of them are Utah high school guys. I mean, Jack Kelly's from Kearns. You've got, we haven't mentioned Chase Roberts. He didn't have a great – Jay Drew did a good story on all the BYU guys who either, could be drafted or could go as free agents. And then Jay was writing about the he ran like a 4.64 at the combine, which isn't good enough for a wide receiver. But then at the pro day at BYU, he turned in a 4.51. So, did he just have a bad day or whatever? So
what did Nakua run?
Opinions on him.
Nakua was
Nakua 5th round, and now he's all that, right?
Yeah. The only thing that's going to derail Puka Nakua is Puka Nakua.
Yep. That does seem to be true.
Yeah.
Puka ran a 4.57 second 40-yard dash. Pretty slow by.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That was comparable to Chase Roberts.
Yeah, exactly. Chase actually lowered his from the combine.
No, I think Puka Nakua is a better receiver than Chase Roberts, but that's not anything that's a knock on Chase. He'll get his opportunity, so we'll see how that plays out for him and what he's able to do. All you want is an opportunity. Tanner Wall. I would be surprised if he got drafted, but he found a way to make plays at a high level, and so I would assume he'll have an opportunity to see if he can make plays at the NFL level, and I hope they all make it. Obviously,
we talked about Spencer Fano. He's going to go very quickly, but Logan Fano ought to get drafted too. So there's another.
I don't know if he is.
So? The knee injury is too much history there.
Yeah, but he'll get his chance. The most important thing is that you'll get your chance. And after the 7th round, we'll see a bunch of guys who've been there, and they'll tweet out, "This doesn't mean anything now. The game is just beginning. The opportunity will be there. Don't put your head down, blah, blah, blah." We see that every year.
All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Jay Stevens joins us. He's been on with us over the course of the year. You hear him on his podcast, The Puck Report. We will talk with him about Game 1 and what he expects in Game 2 in Vegas. That's next. Stay with us.
Welcome back in. Jay Stevens, man. We got a lot to discuss with our man, Jay. Jay, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, a lot of stuff happened last night.
Host of the Utah Puck Report. Watching the game, I'm wondering, the start, first period and into the second, but especially the first, it seemed like that Vegas was trying to send a message, we're going to be tougher and rough you up. Did you get that sense?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Vegas was very eager to welcome Utah to playoff hockey. They made sure that it was physical on the end of the night. Vegas had 52 hits. Utah had 30. So there was just that part of the game. But I also liked, we talking about the first period and playing your game. Utah looked really good at the beginning of that game. And I think maybe even 40 of the 60 minutes, I thought Utah was the better offensive-looking team. I think they had more chances in their building, which is always a big thing. I thought they created more opportunity, but they definitely took the brunt of Vegas's physicality.
Vegas has to do that, don't they? Isn't Utah the quicker, faster team? And if it just comes down to speed, then it's going to be advantage Mammoth. So Vegas has to do this, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. That's Vegas's game. They're big. They're physical. Even their skill guys, Mark Stone and Tomas Hertl, they're big, and they can play a physical game. So that's what they're built for. Teams like that are built for playoff hockey, and they have to do something to shut down the speed. Utah has the speed. Utah has more depth. I mean, having 6 20-goal scorers on your roster across all 4 lines is hard to compete against for most teams. So seeing Utah try to figure out the physicality, but yeah, that's the only way Vegas is going to try to match that speed, is to shut it down, clog up the neutral zone, make the offensive zone really muddy for Utah, try to just use physicality and pin everybody against the boards and keep them out of the middle.
Do you think Nick Dowd really wants to kill Cooley?
I think during playoffs, everybody wants to kill everybody. And, man, what a huge pickup for Vegas, picking up Dowd at the trade deadline. I mean, he was definitely noticeable last night.
Do you think, and they were putting up all this stuff on experience, all the graphics and all that, and it felt like the Mammoth ratcheted up their game and matched it for 2 periods, and the Vegas was able to double down a third time. How much is that emotion sustainable? And can Vegas bring that level again? Or is this something we're going to see cranked up game to game, and it's actually going to get more intense with each passing game? Like I felt like the Mammoth raised the bar. I just wonder how much more they have to raise it.
Yeah, they're going to have to raise it a little bit, and you're nailing those things right on. I mean, Vegas did what they were supposed to do. I thought Utah came out and controlled their emotions pretty well. I mean, they looked great in that first 15 minutes of the first period. What really shifted it was that penalty and the penalty kill for Utah, which struggled just a little bit. But Vegas had one of the top they're one of the only teams in the league they were in the top 10 for power play and penalty kill. So you knew it had to stay out of the box for Utah to win. And Utah kind of fell into that trap of falling for Vegas's shots after the whistle, little kidney punches here and there, and Utah needs to learn to, you can get involved in those scrums and you can stick up for each other, but you can't do something that crosses the line and puts your team down a guy, because one penalty, one power play goal against. That's all it really took to take the momentum away from Utah. So you're going to see more emotion. You've got guys that were just punching each other in the face 2 nights ago. They're going to be sore from that punch when the game starts tomorrow night, right? So there are going to be some grudges. There's going to be some hurt feelings. Expect the emotion, the physicality, and the intensity to go up even another level.
And that's a fine line, Jay, is what you're saying there, because I can appreciate that. And at the same time, you don't want to get out of what you do and what you're capable of doing and what got you to this point. So how do you think they handle that?
Yeah, and that's what Bear was saying. Like, they knew they had to increase their physicality, but they can't forget how they got to the playoffs. And that's by keeping their head, playing their system. I think Utah in the third period, even when it was tied and then again when they went down a goal, they didn't change from, you still saw them get really good scoring opportunities. I thought it was unfortunate the turnover happened right when they were pulling Veggie out of the net to give him the empty netter. Because I think if you would have seen Utah get some structure and some offensive zone time right there with the extra attacker, I think you were going to see a real good push. You ended up seeing some pretty good scoring opportunities anyway. But that's the key, is Utah has to play physical. It has to be more than just, that fourth line throwing their body around. Krause led the team. I think he had 9 hits. The second closest to that was 3. Everybody's got to learn to finish every check. If somebody on the other team has the puck or touches the puck, they have to be hit. That's just the rule of playoff hockey. You have to play physical, but at the same time, you hit the person and you skate away from it, and you just send that message that I'm here to play physical, but I'm not here to play stupid. And that's been Utah hockey. They stay away from the bull crap most of the time, and they did a much better job the second half of the season of not taking those retaliatory penalties. And they just got to continue that through the next game of the playoffs.
We can analyze everything. We can nitpick everything. But how much does everything change if Schmidt scores? Because they had a great sequence there. They got him a ton of space on the ice. I mean, he's just walking. He's got the whole goal to shoot at. And it looked like Hart saved that shot with his right collarbone. I'm not sure he could do that again. Next time that thing goes in, it's 3-3. And then maybe it's completely different. So how much of it is – just keep plugging away, because this is a sport where a bounce or two goes your way and everything changes?
Yeah, that's 100% it. It's a game of inches and a game of who's going to make the fewest mistakes more than it is who's going to play the best, right? That's how goals are scored, or off little mistakes or a half an inch there. You saw Stenlund's goal was a pretty creative way to score a goal off somebody's jaw, but it's Yeah, if you tie that game right there, and there was a couple times, I think Gunther got in alone too, and Cooley made those amazing moves that would have given him a 2-goal cushion too when he got through, and he got Paul Bunyan's the whole way to the net, but he made it to the net. So yeah, a little thing like that changes the whole buildup of the game. If you're tied back up, Utah, I think, takes back over the game, or if they could have got that 2-goal cushion, I think you would have seen a lot more offensive styling. I think Utah could have played a little more freely.
Given the lack of playoff experience, does the first game, the way it played out and the result, how much does it surprise you, if at all?
I think what surprised me the most is how well Utah handled it. Like I said, that power play goal really kind of took them off the tracks. But until then, I thought Utah was controlling the play. They seemed to be fine getting physical. You know, you have Cooley going after guys. You got Sergachev going after guys. So I think that's what surprised me the most is that the inexperience didn't really show up to me. I thought they played a really good game. I thought this was a great playoff game. It felt more like a 4 versus 5 than a Pacific Division champion playing a wild card spot. I think Utah proved to everybody that they belonged to be there. Everybody in Vegas thought Vegas was going to lose the first game. And I think for me, that was what I saw the most. I saw a pretty composed team that was getting involved in physicality. And maybe for the first time, I think going into the game, I think Cooley had maybe 11 hits on the season and Keller had like 9. So they're going to have to increase that physicality. But other than that, I was actually really impressed with Utah's game. And, yeah, it came down to just a couple lucky bounces. And really surprising that they called a hooking penalty with all the physicality that was going on. And I didn't think that hook from Kerfoot affected the play at all. I saw a lot of hooks like that and cross checks that were being let go. So I'm really surprised it came down to that kind of a play with such a physical and emotional game. But Utah seems ready, and I think we're going to see a better performance in Game 2.
One thing for them, I think, to lean into, I thought the passing was really crisp there in Game 1. The passing that set up the first goal was really good, and you've already talked about some of those other chances. Again, it was, the spacing, the vision, the passing, it just seemed like sometimes you guys need like a second touch. They don't quite, I don't know if they're taking the eye off the puck or whatever. You can't be on point all the time. But it seemed really crisp last night. That seems like an advantage for them and something that could create a little offense where it was a little lacking in Game 1.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. Utah's fast. We talk about Utah's speed all the time, and you assume that they're just talking about how fast they can skate. But it's the decision-making and the passing and those one-touch passes. I mean, those guys are thinking circles around a lot of the defenders on the ice. They're that creative. And you could see it building up before that first goal. You saw Utah get back to they got in the offensive zone. They set up. They made that cross-ice pass for that one-timer. That's Utah hockey. And it took to that point to actually see, Utah get back to their form. The other thing Utah didn't do that they did a lot and had success against on Vegas is doing a dump and chase on one of the bottom 2D for Vegas, knowing when those two are on the ice, making sure you're doing that dump and chase, getting back to that kind of style, make those guys turn, chase the puck, and then punish them when they touch it. So those are those things. You're absolutely right. In the playoffs, those crisp passes mean everything because there's just no open ice. The minute the puck's on your stick, somebody else's stick is on your stick. So you've got to be quick with that pass. You got to spread the ice out a little bit more. Vegas did a good job of clogging up the middle in the third period and trying to cut off those passing lanes. But I think that's what you'll see. I think Utah, they all have experience now. They all have playoff experience. That was the other night, and now you're gonna see them get back to their game, be who they were, make those stretch passes and those clean, crisp passes through the neutral zone, and hopefully better breakouts. That was the other thing that kind of fell apart, was breaking out of the zone.
So far, it looks like Vegas' decision to change coaches is one of the best decisions the franchise has ever made. How do you explain this great run they've been on since they got Tortella in there?
Yeah, it's funny, and I said it a few times. I don't know if a lot of people agree with me or not, but typically when you have a coaching change, you do have a little bit of a run, 5 or 6 game win, something like that, right? I don't know what it is that changes. But they're giving Torts too much credit in my book, because the other thing that happened the exact same time is they got Carter Hart back from injury.
Yeah.
Who he played at the beginning of the season and then missed a ton of the season.
Right.
And Vegas was really down on Aiden Hill. He wasn't playing great. He was at an 88% save average. Here comes Carter Hart at the exact same time they fire their coach, and I think that stabilized the team. Does Torts deserve some credit? Absolutely. I don't think he changed the lines. I don't think he changed the system. I don't think he changed a lot of stuff that went on. I think the biggest thing that happens is that you've got Carter Hart back in the net, and he's a phenomenal goaltender.
So what do you expect to see in Game 2 out of the gate?
A lot of physicality and Utah needs to take the game to Vegas, kind of the same way they did in Game 1. I expect to see Utah trying to use better passing. You might see some changes in the lineups. I was really surprised to see McBain on line 4. I think he's better with Kerfoot, so I think you'll see some line changes possibly. Put McBain into line 3 and maybe move Carconi down. But there's got to be a little bit of an adaptation to make sure that you've got scoring power on all 4 lines and physicality on 4 lines. It's funny that besides Lawson Krause and his 9 hits, some of the top hitters were Brandon Tanev and Kerfoot and Carconi, who are barely 6 feet tall. Our smallest guys are throwing the most hits. So I think the rest of the lines need to throw more hits. You need to see Cooley throwing more hits. You need to see Keller and Schmaltz throwing more hits. So that's what I think you'll see, the increased physicality. And I'd really love to say that Bear's going to rein them in on the stuff after the whistle, but that's hard to do when the emotions are in there and everybody's so competitive. But I think you'll see Utah try to get back to their run-and-gun game and really take that to Vegas, because Vegas cannot keep up with Utah's speed.
All right, we'll leave it right there for now. Jay, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us here and giving us a little info on the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, and you can check them out on the Puck Report, available wherever you get your podcasts. Go to YouTube, go to KSLSports.com, wherever you go. The Puck Report is there. All right, DJ and PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, we'll get to it next. Stay with us.
Hockey fans, let your voice be heard with the Utah Mammoth Fan Forum. Visit the Utah Mammoth page on KSLSports.com to connect with the team, other fans, and our KSL Sports insiders. Start chatting today in the Utah Mammoth Fan Forum on KSLSports.com.
DJ and PK, time to catch you up to date on everything you missed in this show. And the Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. NBA playoffs are underway. PK, as always, we view this through the lens of what does it mean to the Utah Jazz and their rebuild. And you really see the separation. It's great to be a playoff team, but I think there are some teams we all expect to take deep playoff runs, and a lot of these first-round series are lopsided. Some of them may be competitive, but competitive between teams I don't really believe are going to make deep playoff runs. So good to have a round or two under your belt, but then they'll be out. You see anything that surprises you, informs you, or are we just getting through this first round till it gets really interesting with some bigger matchups?
Well, the NBA likes to, as does everybody, publicize what makes them look good, and all those playing games those first nights, man, they were just barn burners right down to the end. Well, then you had a bunch of beatings in this second version of it, which I guess is the first round, if you want to look at it that way. But, it's one game. We'll see. But, yeah, the NBA in the early rounds rarely has an upset. So why should that be the case now?
Orlando was the only team that played in the playoff game, in the play-in games, that did anything, and I guess you could argue they shouldn't have been in those in the first place. They've had injuries, and something seems off there. They've had enough bad teams, enough high draft picks. You think they'd be doing better. Well, they did well in Detroit in Game 1. They win 112-101. Other than that, the home team and the favorite prevailing everywhere. And like you said, some of them are pretty ugly.
Right. I think that's one of the reasons, I think that Phoenix got smoked, and maybe they had an emotional victory on Friday night and had to go over to Oklahoma City, so maybe that's a little bit of a hangover. but it's why I think that when I look at Phoenix at its best right now, this season, and I look and project the Jazz at their best next season, I think the Jazz can be better than what Phoenix set as the model, if you want to look to that, this season.
Yeah, the Jazz should certainly be able to do what the Suns did, but you're right. Why couldn't they do a little more than that?
I would expect that they would. And the Suns will be a different team next year. No one ever stays the same. But I'm talking about this year. And I don't think anybody expects Oklahoma City to go out in the first round or second round for that matter.
Philadelphia's another team that was in the play-in, and then they have to play the Celtics, and they get blown out 123-91. I did check on Edgecombe. I was wondering how that would go for him, high draft pick, and how does a young guy perform really early in his career, right? He's a rookie. He's in the playoffs. He's playing the Celtics. 13 points, 6 of 16 shooting, 0 of 5 from 3. It wasn't easy. And he had a really good rookie year, but the playoffs are a whole nother level, and he's getting his first taste of them. And sometimes, most of the time, hard lessons have to be learned.
I remember this one guy in his rookie year was at the Delta Center, and he was shooting air balls. And then he regrouped a little bit, and he talked about how, he went from high school to the pros. You remember that guy, Kobe Bryant. And he talked about how he saw at the end of the season the way he trained was nothing what he needed to do. He said his legs were shot, just shot. And so his shots were online, but he had no oomph in the legs. And shooting, we know, particularly when you're gassed, you got to get that push that you need from the legs. And so that led him to revamp his entire conditioning to make sure when he got to April and May that his legs were powerful and they weren't dragging the way they were when he was a rookie because he didn't know. And that was an interesting, and obviously it's in retrospect when Kobe's talking about this, that his career is over, but he was reflecting on why those things happened. And it wasn't just, he's a teenager who wasn't ready for the moment. It's that literally his body wasn't prepared for the moment because he had never been in there, and he knew that he had to change to make sure his body got himself to be prepared for when those times come, that you still have enough in your game and in your body. And so we'll see how these rookies respond. I mean, it's not that surprising that they go and don't have phenomenal success in their first NBA playoff game as a 20-year-old.
We've wondered about these guys trying to play more games, and Locke's talked about the demanding nature of how much they have to run around and the amount of ground that they cover in a game, that it's much more physically demanding. That's all the starting, stopping, changing direction of these big bodies. Wembanyama played 33 minutes in the playoffs, and I've wondered if they're going to cut him loose a little more. How much were they saving for the playoffs? He averaged less than 30 minutes a game. No, it was close, but I think he was right at 29. But they have been playing him less, and sometimes blowouts give you that opportunity, but it does seem like they're trying to limit the amount of ground he covers and how demanding the game is on him, not by limiting the games as much, although they do limit his games. He played 64, but they also seem to limit the time within those games. And he's obviously, just a gigantic human being. But they did cut him loose for 33 minutes in the playoffs. They didn't really need it. They pretty much controlled and dominated Portland. So maybe we'll see him playing a little more in each game here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But interesting as everyone tries to figure out how to handle these demands and play guys more and conserve their energy for the most important times.
And we are upon almost, I guess you can say these are the most important times right now. I mean, there's more. What you want is more important times to come, right? We all understand that. That's why they talk about getting rid of your opponent in the first round as early as you possibly can, which makes sense that that's what you would want to allow. It's an interesting thing, though. You were big on the teams that got out of rhythm in college football, and what does that mean going forward? And what about these teams that have to play in the play-in? Are they in any form of better situation since they're playing every day. You know, there's an argument to be made for that as far as that goes. I'm not sure what to buy and what not to buy.
I think in this case, what you can buy is the thing that you like to buy the most anyway. And in this case, I think with the play-in and the layoff, I think in this case, buy the talent. You know, the 1 versus 8, the 2 versus 7, those 1 and 2 seeds, they just have way better teams. They're just more talented. It's not close. And so even if there is a little bit of rust and a little bit of layoff, they can handle it.
And you talk about rust and layoff, and they need a rest and this and that. Mm-hmm. In the 64-65 playoffs, Oscar Robertson averaged 48.8 minutes a game. And the prior year, in the 63-64 playoffs, he averaged 47 minutes a game. And that was his lowest. Oh, no, wait. He had 46.7 minutes in 62-63. He went, as a rookie, 46-3, 48-6, 46-7, 47-2, 47 on the dot, and 48.8.
And flew commercial.
Now, you could say, okay, he was out of league at 35. But is it better to burn out or is it better to fade away?
I don't think 35 is that early. In that era, 35 was pretty late. You know, and he was a guard, so perimeter guys are still largely down to 35. And Chris Paul
but guys, Steph Curry was just talking about he's got more than a couple of seasons to go, and he's 38.
Medicine's come a long way, and then not only that, I mean, the travel and charter, I mean, it's a different deal now. I think Oscar Robertson was an Iron Man, and he's an old-timer. and we were having this discussion one morning on the show, and then I go over to a jazz shoot-around, and Kevin O'Connor would run. That was the time to catch Kevin if you wanted to have a side conversation. And he came around the corner, and I think he says, hey, you tell your guy PK, you two and your Magic Johnson thing. No, the Big O, he's number 1. He says, I'm not ripping Magic. Magic was awesome.
Yeah,
and he's number 2. Oscar, that's the guy. And he pitched him hard. At first he was having fun, but then he was serious. His respect for Oscar Robertson is off the charts.
And I was just flicking around, and I came on Stephen A. Smith. Mm-hmm. The A stands for his knowledge of basketball, and he's got his top 5 point guards all time, and he does not have Oscar Robertson on the top 5, nor does he have John Stockton. Are you kidding moi?
Well, some people, because Oscar did it all, some people called him a 2-guard.
Oh, come
Pretty
on.
fine distinction. He was, before we went to the specific positions, everyone was running 2-guard fronts and all that kind of stuff. There really wasn't a distinction to be made, and he did it all.
Well, but the assist title, the assist numbers, I should say, speak for themselves. I don't care if you're not in someone's definition.
Yeah.
If I look at the assist total, come on.
That should tell you.
Yeah. Isn't that what it's about? It's why I say LeBron. I put LeBron on that list.
Yeah.
Because he could handle the ball, and he was more than willing to pass it if you were open.
Jokic point center, LeBron point forward. Let him run it. And the Lakers did. In the playoffs in Game 1, the guy had, I think, 13 assists and 8 of them in the first quarter. Set the tone early, get everybody involved. Do whatever. Get it done. And he did. The NFL news. A.J. Brown, all the denials, non-denials. The Eagles open to trading A.J. Brown, but there are reports that the Patriots and Eagles won't cut a deal until after June 1st because of salary cap issues, collecting and bargaining, all that, blah, blah, blah. But pencil that in. Give it another month and a half here, and we'll see something.
If I'm A.J. Brown and I go to New England, I just make sure I keep my wife away from the coach.
Good point. Excellent point. Thank you for bringing that up. Cincinnati Bengals traded the 10th overall selection to the Giants for Dexter Lawrence. So the Giants have 2 of the top 10 picks. If you're looking for a worst to first, and then usually somebody in the NFL pulls it off, why not the Giants? Is there an awesome team in that division? They're making the coaching change, and we've seen these similar coaching changes kind of pay off. You bring in the veteran guy. He knows how to do it. Jim Harbaugh, John's brother, did it with the Chargers. Obviously, the Broncos made the same kind of move, and it's paid off great for them. Arrow's been straight up in their 3 years under the new regime. So,
yeah, I mean, you only have to move up 3 spots, though, in the NFL.
Yeah, I know, 4th to 1st. It's a little different, right?
Yeah.
But the Cowboys aren't exactly a smooth, a well-oiled machine. Philly always seems to have dysfunction. Washington's been up and down. Who knows what the real truth is with them? The last 2 years have been very different.
Which is why in the AFC West, I'm picking my guy, Fernando. He's going to be the best newcomer named Fernando since Valenzuela. Mark it down.
Okay, that's true, but they're not winning the AFC West, and you know
45 years later.
You're not a gambler. When you go back to Jersey, get the ticket on the Raiders not winning the AFC West. You can talk about it with all your cousins. I'll guarantee you they're not going to.
My cousin, Patrick Roccanello, who just had a heart attack the other day, but is doing fine.
No, that's good. Explain the New York Mets and the nature of sports to me, PK. They started out 7-4. That's a nice start. They're rolling out of the gate. They spent $352 million in the payroll. Tops, I mean, the Dodgers have all the deferred money, but that 352, just a massive number, tops in the major leagues. And after starting 7-4, they go 0-11 in the next 11. Explain that to me. What has happened?
That's why I'm here. I am the big explanation.
Yes.
And
you are. The Shaq would love that. The big diesel. I'm the big explanation.
Flicking around on stuff I've come across because Francisco Lindor is apparently a left winger and demanded that Brandon Nimmo, who's from Wyoming, didn't play high school ball because they don't have high school baseball in Wyoming. And he is a right-wing supporter of, I can't even mention his name, but we know who he is. Mm-hmm. And Lindor, demanded that Nimmo be traded. And so they traded him to the Texas Rangers. And that is the reason. Politically motivated. We did not want Brandon Tate Nimmo. You've got to keep your distance from Wyoming people. How long have I been saying that?
Well, when you started with high school baseball, I thought that just tells you how brutal winter in Wyoming is. They can't even play baseball in the spring.
They don't.
I know.
No.
Weather doesn't allow it.
And he was he's from Cheyenne, and he's been in the big leagues a long time. Yeah. He was debuted literally 10 years ago for the New York Mets and was a player for them until this past season, and he was traded to the Texas Rangers. That seems like a cockamamie theory, but nevertheless, that's one that was floated out there. All of a sudden, the reason why they have lost 11 in a row, of all people, they do not have Brandon Nimmo on their team.
Aside from just losing the talent, just the dissension and the turmoil in the locker room, and I can see where that throws guys. And the thing about that is, like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, so one guy, you don't like his politics, but there's 25, now 26. But the coaches and guys are coming and going with injuries and call-ups and all that, so you're probably interacting with 30, 35, 40 people depending on the team. I think people's politics are going to be all over the place. You know,
maybe not.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't think you can get 40 people on one side. But
I don't know. I just know what I saw. I think that it's very difficult for a manager. They need a manager the quality of Gil Hodges, but Gil Hodges is not walking through that door.
Hey, you think at our next PGA draft there'll be a battle to see who can pick Scotty Scheffler first? We can only pick golfers one time now in a season, and none of us wanted to bet. He just hadn't been at the top of his game. We didn't want to pick him to win the Masters. Sure enough, he finished second. So I guess we were right to pass on him. But now Scotty Scheffler loses to Matt Fitzpatrick in a playoff. Scheffler again going low on the weekend with a 64-67 Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be fighting over him at the PGA and the U.S. Open, aren't we? I mean, it's a draft. We can't fight over him. But
well, since I always draft last, I'm the perpetual Mr. Irrelevant.
You'll get him in the British Open.
That Yeah, I guess
Open Championship.
Maybe that would be the one there as far as that goes. But golf is an unpredictable sport, and we'll see where we go when we get to that point in May. We're still a month away, and Scheffler is a phenomenal player, and he seems to always be there. And always being there in and of itself is an accomplishment.
Agreed. And he was definitely there again this week at the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, I had taken my bike and rode around that course, and so I felt like, okay, I know that hole. I didn't play it. It actually was closed when I was there, which is why it allowed me to ride my bike along the cart path. And then the water, the ocean, on the 18th hole is right there. But then on the other side, the ocean is right there, less than a mile away. And rode my bike on the ocean there, too. It was a lot of fun.
Real Salt Lake beats San Diego 4-2, so unbeaten in their last 6. 4 wins in 4 home games. They have been perfect at home. And next up, Messi and Miami Wednesday night in Sandy. They will try to extend the streak against the legend, who was in Colorado and won 3-2 on the weekend.
I can tell you right now, when they come to town, the way we're playing for that Floridian team, it will be Messi.
The back line's been a little porous. I don't know if you saw the goals Colorado scored. I didn't watch the game. I saw the
I taped it and studied it afterward.
Oh, man. The center backs are like 30 yards apart. That's Gozo and Luna and those guys, they're going to be licking their chops if that's the way the
chops will be licked.
Chops will be licked. That seems like really poor restaurant behavior, doesn't it?
You said they're going to be licking their chops, so that would mean that would require that chops must be licked.
You went to the logical at that point, yes. All right, DJ and PK, we are taking a break. When we come back, your feedback next. Ryan Smith on the Pat McAfee Show. I believe we're going to win a championship here in Utah. There's no woe is me here at all. We're going to do it. What's your confidence level? We'll get to that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it is time for your feedback. Ryan Smith on the Pat McAfee Show. I believe we're going to win a championship here in Utah. There's no woe is me here at all. We're going to do it. Here come the reactions. Eric doesn't buy it. That's hilarious. Cameron's at the total other end of the spectrum. We're winning a championship in the next 5 years.
Well, if we get Ace DeBonsa, I'd say in the next 3 years.
Oh, and there it is. A lot of comments coming in about the draft lottery. Eldon, perhaps, maybe, eventually, the Mammoth before the Jazz. Patrick says, will the lottery favor us this year? Kyle says, I got about the same confidence I have in the Jazz winning the draft lottery, which is getting a bunch of thumbs up and laughing and crying emojis.
Just you wait and see. Big changes are on the horizon with the Utah Jazz and the KSL Sports Zone. Count it down, people. Top of the hour. Woo! Woo! Woo!
Are they there and poised and ready to go? All excited?
I've been hugging people left and right. It's almost like a wedding.
You've been hugging people.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I believe one of the two people would hug you. I believe the other one would just tell you to stay away.
Too bad. When I come at you with a hug, you follow.
It's a new lineup today, people. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. You'll figure it all out.
And the old geezers are still here.
Oh, man. Greg, getting back to the topic at hand. I am completely confident. It may not be with this team, and there may be another rebuild if the current team and assets don't get there. But Ryan's doing everything right. Singular focus goal. Championship's all that matters. He's brought in other professional sports. He's rebuilding the stadium, practice facility to make it world class. I even like his focus on diversity in the organization. It's going to provide long-term gains with free agent perception.
He likes his focus on diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I love diversity too, under one condition.
It doesn't impact your job. Hey, when we diversify, am I still getting a paycheck?
Okay, I'm good to go.
I'm all for diversity as long as I'm not over there on the curb when the bus pulls away.
That's a funny thing, that diversity.
Are we expanding? Expanding, I like. I like that. Good theory.
Don't contract, no.
Greg says rings everywhere. Greg is very upbeat.
A ring here, a ring there?
Rings
like
everywhere.
Oprah in the cars?
Mm-hmm. Cam says, I believe they'll win a championship with both the Jazz and the Mammoth. They're building something special here in Utah.
Oh, the same year. That would be the same month practically then.
Cam is very up. Well, maybe it's 5 years apart, though. Who's to say?
Oh, I know. But I'm saying if it were to happen in...
They'd both happen in June, yeah.
If it were to happen the same year, that would just be unprecedentedly unbelievable because it would happen in the same month, right? That would be shocking. 2 parades, or did we just have one big massive parade?
All the way from Ogden to Provo. No, Brigham City to Santaquin. Let's go.
Why are you going to stop it at Santaquin? Go all the way to St. George. What are you talking about?
Now you're talking.
With that new ballpark that the Utes have on their campus, they go to Omaha and win the College World Series in June. What can be won in June? And then Finau wins the U.S. Open in June.
Ta-da! Ephraim says, I think he's right. The Jazz can get to the NBA Finals next year as long as they buy their tickets for June of 2027.
We shall see.
See, I think that was sarcasm.
I know.
Buy their tickets.
I know what he was talking about.
Travis thinks it's one big conspiracy theory. The league will have its say. Travis isn't buying it. All right, we got to take a break. Then the new lineup, well, at least part of the new lineup, debuts next.
Yeah, I'm staying. I'm going to be right in here for the very first word so I can say I was there.
Okay, you were there, PK. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The new show is next.